tell you why KT should probably win this game.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with the teams that are playing here today. It has nothing to do with side selection, with form. It's as you zoom out, you start to see the patterns. You start to see they were destroyed 2-0, 3 in a row. And now they've won 2-0 twice in a row.
Yeah.
And this is the type of KT balance that leads them to the 50-50s that we all know of. All you need to do is zoom out a little bit and you can see the writing is on the wall or it's in their match history.
Yeah, you just have to look and see how they hit 500. You know, I had to see how they hit that
Exactly.
50%.
It's all about the 50%, and that says something, right? That means that there's synergy, there's balance. And today is where we see that that balance come together. And so if KT win today, guys, I just need you to know, we shouldn't be too surprised.
No.
We should be a bit surprised, because it doesn't make sense. Humble Life Esports seem to be way better. But for that reason alone, for the symmetry alone, that's what should bring us there. Anyway, all of the weirdness aside, let's have a look at these bans.
Poppy ban makes you feel like they might be fishing for a Kalista first pick. I think if Kalista gets banned here, they'll likely lock the Rumble. If Perfect wants to play Gwen, and that's a risky choice against Zeus, so I think we'll be happy to play the Rumble into the Gwen. But if it's banned here, you have to make the choice between the Kalista and the Rumble. And that's where things get a little bit scary, is they'll actually ban Nico. So weakening some of the power into Kalista. So like, I think Viper's like, well, I'm gonna grab Kalista here, and thank you very much. So Gwen does get locked in. Will they maybe go Kalista Rumble?
And I don't know whether Gwen is necessarily at the same power level as we've seen her, right? In previous patches, things like the Rumble being up and available means that she can kind of get cooked up there towards the top side of the map. Varus Rumble would actually be a very, very powerful first round of picks here for HLE if they do decide to go that way. But Talia's up as well.
Yeah, Talia's up, Azir is up. A lot of prio picks up here since we saw a pretty unusual set of bans here for KT Rolster that are kind of player specific.
Yep. Talia Pantheon. Talia Pantheon is just the lock-in, right?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the play. Because
oh my god,
you have so much global power with these two picks, and you can shut down the Gwen in the side lane so incredibly well because Pantheon can just follow her, and then you have to consider how good Talia is into Gwen in general in terms of zone control. So what's the response going to be here for BDD is my biggest question. Is if he just slams down the Azir, I don't think anyone will be surprised, but it's going to have to come with something that pairs really well with it here because so much is already taken away. The Pantheon's gone, the Xin Zhao is gone. Wukong looks like it's going to be the lock here potentially.
Yeah.
And very strong into Varus if that does end up being the final pick here for Humble Life Esports. I think with the composition of KT Rolster, I don't think you want to take that pick yourself.
I would agree. I don't know whether it's Azir time. I just think the matchup into the Talia has been so difficult. We've seen this core many, many times. Didn't feel like it worked all that well yesterday. I think B&K Fearx used it a couple of times, or at least once. It's Fearless, Atlas, you moron. But they did use it once, this sort of top 3 picks. I don't know whether it necessarily worked out against Nongshim, as Zeka is hovering Zeus' favorites. One of Zeus, look at his face. He was like, please, it would be great. Oh, I guess I'll just play my most iconic champion.
He just wants to play some of his favorites. He was hovering the Jax, you know. He always wants to play Nidalee in this meta into anything. I don't know if he really wants to play it into Gwen, though. And it will have the range advantage now into the Gwen in the top lane with this Cannon pick. There's a lot of team fight power here, and it's really easy to re-engage with the Cannon, plus you have the global power of the Pantheon Talia. So controlling side lanes feels really good here for the side of Humble Life Esports. They'll now opt to ban that Varus away. I think Kalista still works actually here for Humble Life Esports' composition because KT Rolster are going to be running at you. So I like this ban a lot by KT. And the range issue that Kalista often has is not going to apply here.
Yeah, I feel like it's Kalista Jhin have to be the bans, which is kind of sad, right? We know that Dokdom would like to play both of those champions, but red side power that you have is that you get the first go out of the gate once these bans have come through. Instead, it's going to be the Alistar taken away.
Jhin works well here, but so does Ezreal, I think. Just to buy space and, you know, keep away with KT Rolster. Kind of the opposite sort of way you could approach it with the Kalista pick. So also one of Viper's best. We'll see if he does want to opt into it. Very safe into Wukong. Yeah, play that. So that'd be my main guess here. And it looks like that Viper will agree with us. So no Varus was also another reason why I was feeling, okay, this Ezreal makes a lot of sense. They took the Varus away. Playing Kalista with this comp makes this super all-in. And they banned it away. I don't know what the thought is going to be here for Duckdom. I mean, Jhin works really well when you have all these melee champions and Ahri diving forward here. But it's a comp that requires a lot of coordination. And I would have trusted this on the hands of Hanwha Life Esports' players a lot more than I would here with KT. But it's safe for Duckdom. Like, it's what I asked for. It's what you talked about at the beginning of the day. And this is what we're going to get.
I do think that this gives a lot of agency to BDD to start fights, right? You can throw Charms out, he can be the one to Spirit Rush forward, and then Duckdom opens the curtains. Peter's in there with the Zenith Blade, and you've got Perfect on a flank angle with Cuz following up. Like, there are certainly ways to give ownership of and leadership to BDD, and that is obviously what you look for in a KT composition. The Reldo going to come in here and circles, Wolf, circles.
Everything that KT wants to do with this Wukong, Ahri, Gwen can be really messed up by just putting rocks on the ground and also by a really nice slicing Maelstrom from Zeus. And the fact that they can move this composition around the map so quickly, I mean, Rel is pretty fast-moving support, can really warp team fights with the cannon, so you can guarantee those fights the way you want. The re-engage potential is insane, and trying to fight on even footing with the exact right setup that you'll need to win with KT's comp, where all your champions are running in, buy in space for the Jhin, becomes so complicated when a Pantheon can cut off one of those members who are trying to rotate in. So there's a lot of global power here in this draft from Hanwha Life Esports. I think it's a cohesive draft, what we saw on the side of KT Rolster, but it doesn't necessarily, in my mind, work well into what Hanwha Life brought out.
Yeah, one of the problems is that HLE has one of the best mid-jungle combos that we've seen on this patch, right? Pantheon Taliyah is a tale as old as time, but it is just at a really high power level right now. And you give that to Peanut and Zeka, and you're going to have Zeus on his most iconic champion there towards the top side of the map. The nameplates really make this look skewed. But all of that talk about zooming out, about the fact that KT, it's not about the opposition, it's about the time. Let's see whether they can get it done.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Time to see whether KT are governed by power level of teams in the LCK or whether it's more than that. You know, I feel like this is one of those conspiracy documentaries, you know, that you see that is like half untruths and half things that are just convenient. But I'm looking forward to seeing it randomly be true this time.
My angle for KT potentially winning the series, which I did not predict, and we are of course being quite facetious, is that D plus we saw yesterday, like they ended up winning the series, but it was incredibly close. There were a lot of moments D plus messed up, and you're like, oh, wow,
I really hope Lucid's getting a massage today.
Yeah, I mean, his Lee Sin performance that didn't end up winning them that game, but should have, was crazy. We've seen a lot of games like that for Hanwha, but they get it done in the final fight. You know, we've seen a lot of games where Hanwha's up 4,000 gold, there's a few whoopsies, there's a few side lane errors, and then the game is suddenly playable for the enemy team, but then Viper outplays in the late game fight. We saw the late game fight get technically outplayed by D+, let's say, yesterday. It wasn't the cleanest, but Hanwha Life's late game fights are clean. So even when they have some hiccups, they usually win. But if KT can capitalize on those moments better than some of the other teams who've nearly beaten Hanwha Life, there could be a potential angle. Is not saying right now I feel like Hanwha is a weak team in the mid game by any means, but they have played fast and loose, and they haven't been fully punished yet. And one team is eventually going to do it, and KT often is that team.
Maybe they will be this time around. That is the kind of situation. You're right. I think HLE, they played at the level of their opponent a lot of the time, right? They're like, oh, but what can we get away with? And that does give windows into their games. It also makes them very fun to watch, which is great for us. Not unless you're an HLE fan, in which case you get nervous in the middle of every single HLE game, no matter what the state of it is. So it's, you know, it's good or bad, depending on whether you like the drama.
Yeah, sometimes you get mad. I've seen some annoyed Hanwha fans about some of the decisions, but when you keep winning and you're still 11-1, it's hard to really be critical. It's hard to really nitpick, but you know, when you look at some of these champions, like Zeka's 4-0 on the Taliyah, you know, it's a pick that in the past we'd be like, oh, he's okay at Taliyah, but we're not sure, it doesn't really fit his style. And now he's just not that player anymore. He's not just the Akali, I play melees only. He can play anything. Yeah. And even his Galio has been an iconic pick for him this year. So
it's kind of nuts, his evolution as far as champion pool is concerned. Like, so much of, like, when we walk in on a day, I'm like, oh, well, I guess we're talking about Zeka's champion pool again and blah, blah, blah. This is not even a thing. It's just not something that we're supposed to be talking about. As Peter is getting quite low. He's not dead just yet, but it is not looking too great. And yeah, a lot of these players are going to have like pretty amazing champion stats when you've won 22 games and lost 5.
Yeah.
So that's also another thing that we have to bear in mind. KT, on the other hand, they've lost a whole bunch more. In fact, we've got 15 losses to go through as far as they are concerned. As
a lot
far
of
as
data.
Individual games, yeah, a lot of data, but not as much as other teams, right? There's been a lot of 2-0s and 0-2s for KT. They're either hot or they're cold.
Yeah, it's often a on-the-day performance kind of thing. And for KT, because they've changed their roster so often, sometimes it's like, okay, well, this is really working or it's really not. And I think we've kind of identified now that this is the one that's working the best. Zeus is winning this top lane matchup because he has the range advantage. Bottom lane, Viper was chunking Peter out of the lane, so they were able to get the victory there. We actually see a swap to come through now with the Gwen not having a fun time on the top side and having that exhaust picked up here. Perfect did in this one. And he's just going to TP down to the bottom lane. But we are looking at a world where grubs don't spawn early, so this is no longer really a common strategy. We've seen it a few times, saw it yesterday as well, but definitely not the standard or norm anymore. And because Zeus didn't have to TP or anything like that, he is going to be able to match this. BDD in trouble.
Yeah, Crashdown going to come in there as nice sidestep as BDD desperately trying to hold on to his flash. He's not going to be able to, though, as Viper does come around. So they will be able to get that one. And I'm glad that you brought up the exhaust situation because KT have actually picked double exhaust. I actually think it's kind of crazy. There was, okay, Delight is going to be flashing as well because you may as well. Had he already used it and he was just charging Hex Flash for fun? That might have been what had happened.
Exhaust is really powerful when you have a comp like this because it lowers the mobility of a lot of these champions too. It's great into cannon because it slows down his ability to set up the ultimate he's looking for in team fights. As a bit of supportal combat here.
Yep.
Aftershocks. Aftershocked Pikachu face. But yeah, I like the exhaust tech here from KT Rolster. It's just great into, you know, trying to lock people down as well as Wukong, making it harder for them to get away.
Yep. And of course, it's mandatory into the cannon, which is just kind of the thing that you normally see. It's just the double that I'm finding curious. So see how it's going to be utilized later on in the game here for KT.
It's pretty interesting, as we might have a bit of a fight here, maybe not. It's pretty interesting to see this cannon pulled out as a response to the Gwen. Like, it's an iconic pick for Zeus, obviously, but we haven't really seen teams super heavily index into range matchups into the Gwen. We've seen Gnar come out a few times, but it is a pretty unique response, and I like it. So far, it's working a treat for Zeus. He has the champion mastery for it, so it does make a lot of sense. We're seeing Zeus really be kind of a master chef in terms of some of these top lane picks that he's pulled out earlier. Like, he wasn't the guy pulling out the Yorick first, but, you know, played the Nidalee the best for sure.
Yep,
he
the
played
Nidalee,
the Olaf earlier this year, so like to see that. And he's got a 20 CS lead just from laning alone, even with Perfect trying to swap away. He's like, nope, I follow. And, you know, Duck Dom does have CS parity here with Viper, but this cannon is becoming a big issue very quickly.
Yeah, he's, of course, going to win earlier on in the lane, but like you say, it's going to be difficult for Perfect to find his way out of the trouble.
Especially because there's a Pantheon Taliyah composition on the other side, so even once you do start to feel like you're like, okay, I can kind of play this matchup out a little bit, then Pantheon follows you, and so your side lane pressure is kind of neutered there. So I really feel like this is how you give Gwen and have a good response, right? They're able to get the Taliyah, the Pantheon, they have the cannon in the bank, they're ready for this Gwen pick. And yes, Gwen I think is a little bit weaker on this patch for sure, but they were willing to give this because they had a good answer. And they make this Gwen pick look like it's not a B1-able pick with the draft they came up with. So just very smart, intelligent decision-making here. And Viper going to pick up a plate in the top side as his lane continues to be his victory.
Yeah, Serrated Dirk going to be completed here for Doctom as he makes his way back towards the top lane out of turret. But like you were saying, that plate is going to go down. No more than that, so just one. Still, Doctom loses basically a whole wave. And will now have to try and pick up the pieces. As Perfect is still just trying to get the safe CS, as we can see here, and he's not quite able to find too much of it. I believe he's got the advice of just don't die,
Look at the pings as well on the missing pings in the mid lane. Like, Zeka disappears for just a second, and Perfect is like, I'm too low. I'm just going to concede. And now Zeus has so much pressure down here in the bottom lane, is going to be able to pick up a plate here, denying a ton of farm just from a Taliyah missing in the mid lane. He gets so much out of this.
Yeah, it's actually kind of nutty. Now you can see that Zeka does come back, but Perfect on a little bit of a back timer himself, goes back and gets the blasting one. That is going to be Cuz on the grubs here, so that will give Perfect theoretically some power later on in the game. That's if he gets over this hump that we're seeing at this particular stage. Zeka moving in does get the information that these grubs are being taken, but I don't think that it's going to be something they can fight for, as Peanut is just heading over towards the Raptors right now. KT with control of the top side of the map is going to allow them to at least lock down their first objective of the game, equalizing things with HLE after that Dragon was taken earlier on.
It's really hard to fight that, especially with the engage there from Peter. Gets the Arcane shift out of Viper, and even though they have Pantheon ult, they're like, ooh, so does Wukong. He has his ult, so don't want to try to force that. I think it was the right call from Hanwha, 100%. And just continuing to make a scissors shape hole in the side lane here has been the name of the game. And they're doing a great job of it so far.
Over 90 CS the lead.
This is crazy.
Kind of absurd.
Like, he is 800 gold ahead from laning alone. And again, some resources given, like Zeka roaming just for a brief moment to get Perfect out of the lane, but he's really putting the pressure on. This is what you can rely on Zeus with. It's been what you could rely on him since his debut, is just to generate lane leads with counter picks. Sometimes you can rely on him to just blind and it doesn't matter because you can't counter him.
Yep.
But when it's the extreme variant where he's playing the range champion into the melee champion, he's done so many times, his TF, his Vayne, you're not having a fun time if you're Perfect.
And that is going to continue for a little while, as we can see. It is going to be the Rod of Ages version, by the looks of things here. Hasn't quite completed any of the components yet. It's just got a bunch of rocks and a stick, but is otherwise going to be all right.
Yeah, if he had a catalyst, he'd be feeling, I think, a lot better about the situation, but
yeah. Still, 40 CS behind in the hole, as we like to say, is the Gwen. And that is a large reason why there is a 1,500 gold lead, despite anything else really happening, as Viper will be cleansing here. So Peter will be able to get himself a summoner spell, loses half of his health for it, but I think he's probably going to be all right with that.
A lot of respect of the Wukong there by Viper. I think that's why he cleansed, because Cuz was nearby, had his ultimate available and flash, so could have found himself in a nasty situation, even though he was able to buffer the Zenith Blade. I think from what we know and the distance of Cuz there, probably didn't need to cleanse, but just keeping it safe.
Yep.
And we saw the same respect shown to Viper by BDD earlier, when it was like, oh, okay, I think I'm out, but I see a skill shot flying at me, and I'm going to flash, because Viper doesn't miss those.
Yep, you got to play to the information that you have, and he absolutely did. There's continuing the zone, though, as we can see. Clips goes up here for Peter. Thinking about a re-engage. Does have Solar Flare available, as Zeka from over the wall will deter him from that. There's the Magnus Storm crash down, though. The Seismic Shove onto two. True Shot Barrage over everyone as well. And Cuz goes down in the blink of an eye. And HLE, they lock down First Blood, and they get another one for their trouble.
And they are winning on top side at the same time. So the only place they really got an edge here was maybe like 1 minion dies to the mid turret before Viper gets back over there. BDD still isn't safe to get back to his turret. He's getting zoned off a farm, and Hanwha Life, clean early game here.
Yeah, beautifully done. Delight not going to pick up any aggro here either, as there is a minion wave. And Doctarm's moving in. Perfect is dead, ladies and gentlemen. The exhaust does so much work, though. Doctarm will be able to finish that one off, but a 1-for-1, that is not what KT were looking for, as Feats of Warfare come in as well at the same time.
Yeah, it looks like a bizarre decision-making call there from Zeus to go in with the exhaust there, but I think he dies no matter what, so just wants to commit in with the flash there and is able to execute the Gwen first. They still get the Dragon as well.
Oh, Peanut could be in trouble, but Viper's moving in, so is Zeka. They have information as Peter wanting to get that stun onto this Talia as quickly as possible. Does manage to do so, because not going to be able to scuffle with Peanut anymore. BDD looking for the charm, does not connect it or anything else.
It's an Infernal Soul here with a 2 Drake lead for Hanwha Life. So definitely paying off that commitment there by Peanut to the bottom side of the map. He didn't have to use his Grand Starfall in that last exchange, but
nice little charm for BDD. As Delight looking to move in. Nice little slow does come down as stun is going to miss. BDD, fancy footwork. And Zeka is even going to be tagged by the Orb of Deception. So nicely played from the mid laner here of KT, but the circling of the drain has begun a little bit early.
Yeah, it's very early. The big drain.
Doctarm? What are we doing? It's an odd position to be in.
He was, I think, just really trying to stop Zeka's back there, trying to make him a little more uncomfortable, but very risky decision, especially because Peter was very far away.
Yeah.
Peter's had some really good Zenith blades so far this game, but they've all been onto an Ezreal who's buffered them every time. But at least a good start here for a player who's had some up and down performances on the Leona throughout his career. So I think the individual performances here, I'll hold that thought, perfect.
Yep. Grand Starfall comes in, perfect is not going to be getting out of this one. Stun lasted for what felt like forever. And down he will go. That is Peanut locking that one up. Cuz going to move in, just mainly to pick up the experience and money represented by all these minions underneath this turret. And he's going to be punished for it here as Zeus, with his dash cannon and boots, is feeling very strong.
Peanut laughing. The Grand Starfall, I mentioned, was on not on cooldown after the last skirmish. They didn't use it for a fight, but he's going to use it now. And the only reason why Gwen can kind of be in that position to farm when the Pantheon comes through is because she has Exhaust. But she doesn't have Exhaust actually anymore because she used it moments before. So they punish that cooldown very well. And this Gwen, it's not even, you know, necessarily, I feel like, Perfect's fault at all. Just Zeus is outplaying on every turn. He has the matchup advantage. There's a nice buffer again here from Viper. He has a matchup advantage and he just doesn't care. Still has ult, by the way.
Yep. And there is the Slicing Maelstrom. Doesn't exactly do too much here as Cuz moves in, but will get stunned at exactly the right time. Zeus avoids the slowdown, but still he is going to be dead. An assist going over to this Gwen is good as well. But BDD dies on the bottom side of the map as Zeka throws some rocks into him, and Delight feels like he's exactly where he needs to be all game long.
I think BDD might have been able to flash that engage, but we'll have to look back in the replay and see. He does have his flash available. Decided to try to use his ult instead. Is punished here, so what looked like it was a great start for KT does kind of backfire. They are able to get the first turret, which is pretty huge.
Kind of a big deal. Denies feats of strength going down immediately as well.
Yeah, pretty significant. And we'll see who gets that next objective. The Herald has spawned, so this is just a great play from Cuz and Peter. And the identification of this is fast on the side of Hanwha Life. You can see on the minimap how quickly Delight is just like, okay, Peter's there. We're making a play on BDD on the bottom side. Zeus a bit greedy with his positioning here, gets punished, but this is what I was talking about. Delight already coming down. Zeka gets the shove. And BDD uses his ult here first. And then opts not to flash. And that is the death of him.
Yep, the flash in from Delight, not something that BDD was able to react to. So a little bit unfortunate there for the mid laner of KT, but they are on this Rift Herald first. We'll keep things up in the air unless Peanut can get a nice smite. Zeus is moving in, Slicing Maelstrom available as Cuz goes in before Zeus can get into the right position. Still, he goes down extraordinarily fast as well. Doctarm wanting to set up the curtains, and he's not going to be able to do so as HLE should be able to take down Shelly here. And there is not going to be a response now that the jungler is down for KT. It is bad to worse here for the roller coaster.
Doctarm, man, remember there's a Pantheon on the other team who's being very aggressive with his positioning. Is looking for a pick on Delight.
Yeah, Charm goes in. Peanut's here though, and Zeus is also moving over. Solar Flare going to get a stun, but Delight just, it seems like he presses any of his buttons and someone dies in this game. And BDD takes a shuriken to the face and does not want that, as this cannon is so incredibly strong. He's still around here wanting to stop Peanut from having a good time, but Peanut is not going to worry about it at all.
Yeah, empowered recall for Zeus means he was never in any danger. Zeka's going to get this turret, and look where Zeus goes, just straight to the bottom lane to continue to make this Gwen's life miserable. He knows exactly where Perfect is going. He's going to get there first, and that gives him so much control over the bottom side of the map, where, believe it or not, there's an objective spawning. They get the Herald. Now they're set up already for this Infernal Dragon, which will be soul point for them if they can pick it up. And this is just the start of this year, so difficult to play out for KT Rolster because Slicing Maelstrom really shuts Cuz down. And so he can't actually hold the Herald. The Weaver's Wall comes through, then Perfect is out. And then the follow-up here, which I don't know if we'll watch because we have the Drake being taken alive, but we are going to watch it. It's just, you gave Delight an engage, basically, and he's like, well, thank you very much. And Zeus can still follow up. He's very fast on this cannon, and he picks up another kill. So KT just biting off way more than they could chew in that situation.
Well, Viper was driving Shelly there for a moment after she went for a bit of a charge, and Doctarm is going to shoot her. So that is going to be the end of that little scenario. 6,000 gold is the lead. And this is just HLE not giving any ground at all. Unless Viper is going to be randomly picked off here as he just arcane shifts. Ah, okay, that's the answer. Yeah. Press E.
He also did have Flashing Cleanse available.
Right.
And he got the turret moments before with the Herald. They got Soul Point. Like, this is a macro game from Hanwha Life Esports that was set up by laning. And Viper's looking to steal.
Yeah, Weaver's Wall comes on in here as KT are in so much trouble. Dogdom able to flash himself away though, and there are some knockups. Zeka going down low. Peanut as well will be taken out. And this is not the engage they were looking for. You're going to need maybe another exhaust here for this cannon, but no, never mind. It's a double kill, and this is the HLE we've been waiting for all game.
There it is. There's the overextension. There's the happy gaming. I was going to say, man, I guess the coaching staff really had a word with them because they were not giving them an inch in this one.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I hadn't actually verbalized it yet, but I'm counting it as a caster curse.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I was like, wow, maybe it's just not going to happen this time. Of course it is.
It did happen. Unfortunately for KT,
they're too far behind.
Yeah, they're far behind, and also they still secure the red buff here. Sure, they end up winning the fight, but there's not much they can get off the back of this. They get a bunch of gold, which is significant, but they are so far behind that this in itself isn't necessarily going to turn the tide. It's not like they can get Otacon after this or take their own soul point. They don't have any dragons, by the way. But yeah, a bit of an overextension there, I would say, into a comp that is happy to just fan out that Gen ultimate and chase you down with it. So still a large gold lead, 3,500 here for Hanwha Life.
But it's not as large as it used to
No,
be.
yeah, slightly smaller. Maybe we'll see the gold graph come up with a little dip.
Yeah, I'd say that the bloop is going to look kind of all right for KT, because it was slowly but surely just reaching HLE's just going to win territory. And now it's back down to maybe there's a shot territory, which is, you know, that's got to be KT's sweet spot. You know?
The solo laners do have 2 completed items and upgraded boots with feats of strength on them for HLE, so that's a bit concerning. Perfect does have 7 stacks of Rod of Ages. And no matter how much they put him down in lane, no matter how much they take his farm away, that timer is still going to tick, Atlas. It is going to hit 10. I don't think HLE can finish this game in 2 minutes. There's no way.
Exactly.
So he's going to get that at least. But yeah,
21:50, 48 or something like that is what we're looking for on the timer as far as that extra level is concerned. And so then maybe Perfect is only going to be 1 level behind at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bit sad. Still, Otacon has spawned, and that is going to be the next port of call for both of these teams. See if anyone is going to start it off in an awkward way, as we've seen in the past.
You know, in game shows, okay, well, maybe this isn't the time to make this reference. I'll get to it later, but HLE is on the Otacon. Delight's holding the entrance.
Yeah.
This is incredibly safe.
Down.
Azeus has TP, but he doesn't even necessarily need it. BDD does not, so he can't even be here.
Well, Dogdom is going to be able to throw in some grenades here. Delight taking a little bit of damage is Perfect. Moving on over. True Shot Barrage not going to hit the mark. As Cuz, if they want to get something done, he's going to have to get in there pretty dang soon. I think he's going to be able to get there, and it's the steal away. Peanut also going to get blown up by that bullet. And HLE lose their jungler and the fight for the Otacon. And Wolf, oh my god, this team has to stop doing this.
So we'll see if they can get any exit kills. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And I think if they try for it, it's probably a little bit of a bridge too far.
Zeus has flash and ult still, so I think KT should just leave. And I don't think Hanwha wants to chase in 1 by 1 here either. Just be a split recall. So what I was going to say is, you know, in game shows where they have the live audience, eventually like the sign comes up that says like applaud or please clap. I feel like Hanwha puts that sign up for the team that's going to lose to them occasionally. Like this is the moment here when Cuz goes in where Peanut's not able to secure the smite for some reason, where like it's just Hanwha holding up the please clap to the KT audience. And KT's like, oh my god, maybe there's chance.
And look, they did exactly what they were told. They did exactly what they were told.
And maybe there was like one after the please clap, it rotated over to please rub your hands together in prayer.
You don't need to do that. That's the default setting. That's what, when the card is sitting down, there's a little thing that pops up saying do that instead. And everyone agrees.
I thought it was a pretty safe Otacon, but Zeus just didn't commit to try to zone the players with this flash result, so...
Well, also, if you start it and you're the team that's tanking it, you just have an inherent disadvantage.
Yeah,
and
100%.
KT are given the ability to decide when they want to engage. The light was low. KT did their homework. It worked out, and HLE didn't have to really do that. As now, Infernal Soul on the table. Peter taking a lot of damage, and will just blow up. The exhaust comes out from beyond the grave, but now 4 versus 5. This is not how KT want to be doing this, and so they're going to have to give up the Infernal Soul. We're pretty sure, as now Peanut with a little bit of a shield wall, and I don't know whether Cuz is going to be able to get in here and take this one out, as Deadly Flourish almost gets it done, and now Charm is going to connect. Over the wall goes BDD, managing to find one. The resets are starting to come in, but Zeus gets over the wall. BDD in so much trouble, and he will be able to get the Fox Lady. And HLE, they've got Infernal Soul now. This is a lot more dangerous than what we were seeing earlier on.
Viper's like, I guess I'll carry again.
Yeah.
I keep saying this, but it just keeps happening. Like every single Hanwha game. That was a really good ult from Zeus as well. This time he actually does press the R button. As you can see, the Weaver's Wall kind of splits KT up, but unfortunately it also keeps Viper away from the Dragon. Like they can't actually burn it fast enough while the wall is there, which gives KT a second opportunity. Perfect in a position here to actually make a play, potentially win. Cuz goes in. There's so many zoning tools though that Cuz is like, that Dragon is just a bit too far away. Look at the rocks on the ground as well. He's like, nah. Then Perfect is in a really nice spot here. Then they can follow up over the wall. The ult from Cuz is fantastic, but now you're too deep. Now Zeus is able to get the ult. Even catching BDD over the wall there is massive. And with the Infernal Soul proccing there, helps him get an additional kill. But a close fight that I feel like didn't necessarily have to be that close. The Weaver's Wall usage, not my favorite there. Good idea, but Viper helps clean up. And the Zeus ultimate that we didn't see on the Octagon, this time employed in full effect.
Yeah, was pretty effective that time around as well. Certainly helps out when the exhaust is not actually available. I'm pretty sure Perfect hadn't actually used it in that particular fight. And that's when the Slicing Maelstrom really gets the work done. Teams have gotten so good at just exhausting the cannon that oftentimes it feels like the champion has to be balanced around being exhausted every fight. Sure. It's actually kind of nuts.
It's also crazy, too, that, like, it's much easier to play Kennen in those situations where they have to come to, even if you can use the exhaust. Like, everyone on KT Rolster was moving into a Dragon Pit, so Kennen's like, well, I like those odds, you know?
Yeah.
My ult's kind of about a Dragon Pit-sized situation, so happy to press R. He does have his boots upgraded, of course, by Feats of Strength, and does have half of either Crypt Bloom or Void Staff picked up here. He is very large in this game. He does a lot of damage in team fights, and Infernal Soul is going to proc multiple times from him in the fight. Same with Viper, who can proc it from very far away.
Yeah, that's going to be part of the problem here, is all of the extra damage that HLE are representing. They have still the 4,000 gold lead that we were talking about before.
If you get the Otacon to proc from killing someone, it's kind of like a little Infernal Soul, but you have to kill someone. Hanwha just have to hit an ability.
Yeah. Peanut does take a fair bit of damage here. As you can see, Cuz is with now 2 items complete. Kind of scary. But yeah, I'm looking at Zeka, Zeus, and Viper. They are representing a lot of damage. Cuz gets over, finds a Cyclone onto Viper here as Peanut comes in. But Peter doesn't get the Solar Flare, looks for the Shield of Daybreak. He flashes in between 2 walls and is feeling very uncomfortable. We'll get a bit of a shield here, though, as Delight still looking for a little bit of an angle. The Magna Storm is decent. There goes Peter finally, but they trade it for Delight immediately. And now Peanut gets in there, blows up the Monkey very, very quickly, but he might actually be sacrificed for it. No, BDD not able to quite get there. Doctarm and BDD trying to stop Zeka from just murdering them. Look at this. The amount of damage this Taliyah does is kind of absurd. As Doctarm walks forward, gets that last bullet, and then says, no, I don't think I have very much more left in the chamber.
Is just like, I can clean up if we need to. Really nice charm there from BD, as Zeus was actually trying to set up for his ultimate, because, you know, we're going to go all the way back to the start of this skirmish, right, which is a potential catch onto Viper. Remember, he is Ezreal, does have Flash available, doesn't need to cleanse, obviously, that CC, and they turn on to Peter. And when Delight goes in for the re-engage, Zeus is trying to get over, but actually decides to chase Cuz, so isn't actually there to follow up on this. So he rockets in with his dash cannon, then is hesitating. Do I go in? Do I look for the ult? Waits for Peanut. And then this charm from BDD actually denies him the Slicing Maelstrom. I think that could have been a fight changer here. And maybe Doctarm and BDD, at least one of them goes down in that situation, but the charm was good. Still a 1 fight for Hanwha Life. But these fights are a little bit broken up. You know, not the cleanest from Hanwha Life so far.
Oh, Cuz maybe in a little bit of trouble here as Delight not representing a massive amount of damage as Doctarm, I think, has his Infinity Edge completed with the amount of damage that bullet did. But we'll just have to check when we get the scoreboard back up again. 5,000 gold, the lead here for HLE.
Yep.
And there it is. So the Jin's starting to do some work.
Hasn't died yet.
Nope. Both him and Viper, in fact, have been deathless so far. KT, I mean, theoretically still in it.
Yeah, I mean, if the fights keep being this messy, your opportunity goes up and up and up. And Perfect is really behind, obviously, but that matters less and less as the game goes on. Right now, a full item behind Zeus, but he's still a Gwen, does have his Riftmaker. And because they picked up the Otacon and he has Rod of Ages, he's only half a level behind. Could have been much worse. As Peter, careful, my man. He really wants to clear vision. That's one of the most dangerous things you can do.
And he also absolutely has to be clearing
Yes.
vision. Because if they give away a Baron, this game could just be over. It's teetering on that this is too much to get over type mark. And 27 seconds on the Elder.
We saw, you know, a attempt on the Otacon go poorly for Hanwha Life earlier. Don't know if this is going to be
Ignore
quite the
those
same
stats,
scenario.
by the way. Those stats were just not very nice for Perfect, so we're just going to ignore those.
Yeah. It's Zeus' Kennen. He had the counter matchup. He had jungle attention. What are you going to do?
Yeah, it's not fair.
He's a rookie, okay? Zeus is a rookie. No, it's actually Perfect, not really a rookie at all.
Not really at all.
He's still very young and hasn't accomplished as much yet.
Exactly! It's mean! That's what I would say. I'd just say, it kind of looks mean!
I mean, like, Zeus almost makes, like, Khan look like a
I mean,
rookie with all
everyone
of his
knows our
achievements.
opinion. We just prefer it if we didn't compare players, okay? We just don't. We're not really about that, especially when it comes to the top lane,
Yeah.
okay?
I wouldn't do it with official stats right now.
No, absolutely not. The truth need not apply.
So this is a very aggressive angle here from Cuz. Already has to use his clone, and this is giving a nice angle to Hanwha Life. They end up getting back control. There's no side lane pressure at all here for KT, so Hanwha Life can kind of just rotate around here forever. The Pantheon can come at literally any angle with Peanut having his ult available, so it's so hard for KT to start this first. And I think that's why we're just going to have this little dance here of vision for a little bit longer. And this is where Ezreal excels, because he can actually poke. He can actually offer a ton in these skirmishes at neutral before the fight actually breaks out. But now side lane control goes to Hanwha Life Esports as KT couldn't lock down vision. And that's a free turret. They use the Elder to grab a turret.
Yep. And the response from KT isn't going to be, oh, we'll just take the Elder, right? Because you just can't do it.
They just don't have
just
vision.
too safe.
They have a control ward in the pit. They have a control ward on both entrances to the pit. And even one there from the entrance from mid to the river there. So anything you do, Hanwha Life Esports is aware of. They even have this Scuttle Crab now controlled on Baron for a potential trade opportunity.
Oh, Dom could be in trouble here, but does have the Ghost Blade, gets himself out. Still 50% gone on that health bar as Cuz looking to try and get out of the way. Viper just playing gatekeeper right now as Peter. I don't think he's allowed to be there, as the curtain call is just not in position to save his Leona at all. And she will just go down. Unfortunate there as Peter just caught a little bit too far up.
Yeah, I'd love to see a vision toggle, because it almost feels like that would have been a misclick from Ductar. Or maybe they just had no vision of anyone else, and we're like,
Yeah,
oh,
I think
Elder.
they needed to check the Elder, is what it looked like there, as Dr. flashing preemptively as Zeus finds the flank angle. The Elder down to 50% health. And
I think
Cuz,
it's just gonna go. I think it's just gone unless Cuz gets a Miracle Steal. He has Flash.
I mean, he's Wukong, he's pretty tricksy, as they'll need to get some vision in there if they ever want to find anything. In the end, what they do is just nothing. And now the Weaver's Wall going to break this one up. Viper gets over the wall, but look at this. The Dragon is angry, and it eats two immediately. BDD now going to be the next target here as Cuz is flying the wrong direction. And now Viper, realizing that he can just Arcane Shift forward, will just take down the Ahri. Peter is going to respawn and wonder what the heck he's respawning into, because the Angry Dragon comes down from the sky once again. And KT, unfortunately, will not be able to fight back at all. They just lose, and that will be their Nexus going down. HLE, yeah, they gave them a couple of opportunities, as they like to do, but this is, in the end, pretty elementary.
Yeah, they certainly want to get, okay.
Zeus just doing the going in thing as the Dragon comes down. That is going to be the ace.
All right, well, they wanted to wait for minions is why they were standing there, is what I was going to say, but they also wanted to wait for champions to come out of the fountain to kill them, and then kill the Nexus, which they promptly do. And while I think the Otacon play was a little bit risky in how they played it out, they weren't all on the same page. I thought it was a relatively safe call, but otherwise this Hanwha does seem like maybe the coaches said a few words. They did play out the vision game around that Elder so incredibly well. The Taliyah Pantheon is just so incredibly powerful, and they got that, plus the Kennen. And the early game was just decided by strong laning from Zeus and playing through that lane, taking the Gwen out, dealing with the lane swap. Viper laning incredibly well in the 2v2. Even when they matched the swap top lane, he was getting an advantage there, getting a plate. And the early game control that Hanwha Life had, they never let go of. And I don't, like, Perfect is 5.7k, well, who's going to flame this guy when he's playing a melee into a range at Zeus and Peanut is ganking his lane and he can't play the game? I do think maybe some stronger top laners would have played the matchup a little bit better, but I think when you consider it's Zeus, when you consider it's Kennen, it's one of his iconic picks, and how much attention was given and how far behind he was all game long, how are you going to do 6k damage in this game?
Well, I don't know, not by doing what he did there, because it didn't quite work out. Remember, that was their first pick as well, Wolf. They put a lot into making sure that he had this champion, and then it did absolutely nothing. So let's see whether they can do a better job as far as putting Perfect on a better pick as we move towards game number 2. Now it's break time, then it's going to be space time, and then it's going to be our time for game 2.
먹을래? 같이 집 봐도 되냐 이거? 봐도 돼. 나 그냥 좀 떨궈볼게. 그냥 갖다 박아도 될 때 장로라서. 나 못 간다. 괜찮아. 미드. 라인만 지켜보자. 라인 좀 있다. 아리 높을. 아리 갈게. 죽은데. 진짜 높을이야 이거. 징클린. 뭐야 징클린. 라인 막을게 이거. 내가 높을. 레오나 보자. 그다음에 내가 라인 지킬 수 있어.
We get a little bit more power in our first pick. Last time around, it was first pick Gwen. That obviously fell flat on its face, and like HLE didn't even need to use any high priority picks in order to get that done, right? That is the biggest problem, is the fact that they lock in a Kennen. Like, it's fringe. Yes, it's like the most iconic champion for Zeus or whatever, but it doesn't actually take anything away as far as meta picks are concerned. This is more to that effect, which is the Rumble here, which now KT has to ban, because they didn't actually use that and free up that ban slot moving into the next part. So there's a Sejuani ban as well. A little bit of a change up here for KT, as last time it was Poppy and Jace that they took away.
Now that Talia's gone, you just take the Azir away. I wonder what this final ban will be. Could be just a Varus ban, but I mean, at this point, again, Hanwha Life have such a wide variety of champions to play. Xin Zhao could have been a first pickable here, I suppose.
Yep.
That's not... That's not what I would go with when you have no idea what your lane priority is going to be if it was going to be a jungle pick. You can call it a denial pick against Zeus, because he's a lot of that 86.7%, by the way.
Yeah, it's also a pick away from Peanut as well. Peanut has been very good on the Italy, so I guess it sort of makes sense. But now Zeus gets his Jace, which is a problem.
That's an issue. Significant one. It's like, oh, well, I guess I won't be playing Yone, because that's banned. I won't be playing Yone Sejuani, which you banned both of. So there's no reason not to pick Jace in this scenario. And we'll see if it's just going to be a Nefiri lock here for Peanut. I think that's a relatively safe call at this point, unless they want to prioritize something for Viper instead.
Yeah, I think the Nefiri certainly is creeping up there as far as the priority list is concerned, but I don't like it. I feel like it just hasn't done enough. When it wins, it's often like the game gets won around it, and you need to snowball in order to make it work. And when it loses, it just looks really, really sad. So maybe it's a little bit of bias in that regard. I don't like sad hot dogs.
I wonder what BDD's plan into this victor is going to be. Well, you know, you need Prio to play Nidalee jungle. When you're picking Sion into Jace, you're not going to have that.
True.
It's guaranteed.
One thing that you do though is you know, Jace struggles to cut through the Scion the later on in the game
Sure.
you go. And Nidalee is the classic pick into the Scion, so if they wanted to somehow flex the Jace somewhere else, which they can't do anymore because the Victor's already picked, then, you know, they wouldn't have been able to pick that one away. So it's kind of cute. BDD is going to lock away the Corki, so not a whole lot of setup for the Nidalee, but still going to have a fair bit of mixed damage here, assuming the Corki goes into the mid lane.
They lock this Corki in as well. You have really no mystery at this point on Hanwha Life's side about like where these are going. I don't think you can play Corki bottom or it's going to be a disaster. And they can protect this bottom lane with bans, and they have counter pick as well. So they can guarantee they have topside prio, which they already know that. Unless this Jace was going to be flexed, but it isn't. Like, it's a Victor lock-in. You know that this mid lane matchup can be volatile. It can be winnable. They even commit now to the Skarner pick here. So Prio isn't going to be in Corki's corner like to a heavy degree, especially because in the early game, Nidalee is not going to be able to do a whole lot for him because there's no synergy between those picks. Corki doesn't have CC. And so if you can get bottom Prio here, Nidalee just doesn't have any angles of attack. And I know Cuz is a fantastic Nidalee player, but I'm not finding the angles right now in this one. And like, they take away the MF, Kallista's gone, and basically they're just making sure Viper's not in a position where he's going to get pushed in, or maybe Nidalee could make something happen.
There's going to be a lot of AD carries missing if we don't pivot over towards some supports.
Alistar,
like Alistar, Rakan might just be the follow-up bans, and Rakan going to start that trend.
I think it'd probably be an Alistar ban here for the side of KT, although I don't necessarily want to play Alistar with this composition for Hanwha Life, as it would sacrifice a lot of your laning power, even though we've seen Alistar do a lot better these days in the lane.
Yeah, maybe you actually leave it up and tempt them into it.
I mean, Peter might also be like, okay, I don't think they're going to pick it. I'll get the Alistar here. Maybe let's take away Varus instead. Like, I think that's the discussion that's being had right now. But with the Alistar bend, I think Viper is probably interested in picking up that Varus pick. They already have the poke from the Jace, and he could play both variations. I think on hit's pretty required into the Scion.
Yeah, I would agree. Have something that can actually cut down a tank would be a good idea.
They could also just play late game hyper carry as well. But I think that when it's Viper, when Varus is so strong on hit right now, this is probably the easiest way to go. And he doesn't really lose lane in most scenarios. So this is the big question. Like, is this going to be a winnable lane? Can Duckdom find, with Peter here, a matchup into the Varus where they win so this Nidalee first pick makes sense? Because if they don't, I'm very concerned, Atlas. Okay, Ashe, but with what?
Yeah, and is it, like, I know Ashe matches range really well with the Varus, adds a lot of utility as well, which is what they've been relying on Duckdom for in these games. Still going to be locked in.
Ashe Braum?
Oh,
Ashe Nautilus?
Ashe Braum actually feels like it could be pretty
good. It's not amazing because they don't have any engage, but it's like, it could maybe not lose the lane?
Yeah.
I mean, I think this draft went boom, and you could see it because Peter is talking a lot and trying to solve the problem with Supreme right now. And he's like, well, this isn't great, but nothing really is. And they are going to opt and pivot to the Braum I was calling for. This makes your engage basically Scion.
Yeah.
And Braum kind of helps.
But you can sort of play in the neutral, right? Like, it's going to be AP Nidalee this time, so the spears will actually hurt. And you can throw rockets from the Corki, although they don't hurt as much as they used to. And, you know, arrows can be pretty decent engage, so you get that out of the bottom lane instead of having an engage support. I don't mind it. The Bard going to come in here from HLE, and this will allow them to kite back even more effectively.
Bard is so good in this situation. It could have been the Nico we saw hovered as well. I think either of these picks really fit the bill. I think the only one I would have not really liked would have been like a Karma here. You just don't really need that in this composition. Your Skarner's already so tanky. Yeah, KT players not looking super stoked because his first pick Nidalee not feeling necessarily strong in this scenario, but we're going to have to make the best of this situation. I agree with you in that even though in the lane, the Scion is just going to get battered and there will always be Prio topside there, maybe it'll become so tanky later on. We've seen Scion in side lanes actually do quite well recently, whereas in the past it feels like he was just a punching bag. We're seeing Scion do a little bit better, but I mean, it's still Zeus, and it's still Zeus in a matchup where it's kind of auto-win. And we saw what the Cannon were like, oh, it's ranged. You could get an edge against the Gwen, but now it's Jace against Sion for Zeus, and you've once again just put Perfect in this position where he's just going to have such an incredibly uncomfortable game. And it could just be a Sion-shaped hole in the map this time around.
It might be, but I think when there are Sion-shaped holes on the map, it matters less than when it's a first-pick Gwen-sized hole on the map. And because that's, you need to play through a Gwen, right? Whereas you are actually just trying to stay at least a little bit relevant as a Sion, and then you're still going to do your job, and it should be fine. See whether KT can play around that. It's a weird draft. They're a weird team, so let's have a look.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the rift for game number 2. Some arcane themes coming in on the side of HLE with the Victor and Jace. Hopefully they've made up their differences, although I'm sorry, Chronicler, it's a bit of a spoiler for Season 2. Still, hopefully they have sorted themselves out.
Yeah, Chronicler still doesn't know how Victor turns into a Protoss Zealot.
Exactly.
He hasn't figured it out yet.
His life is for Aya now.
One day he'll know.
And yeah, and you don't even, he doesn't even understand why Corky's riding a Corgi in most of the stuff as well, because that's like halfway through the season. You learn about that.
Yeah,
that was one of my favorite cameos, was when Corky came in riding the doggo. It's really, really cute. Chronicler doesn't know about it though.
He doesn't know about it. They also fully explain why Corgi's tails get docked and all that. It's like a whole thing.
It's really, like, I feel like a better person for knowing it, and I feel even better knowing that Chronicler doesn't know it.
Yeah, it's a completely different reason in Runeterra than it is in real life.
Yeah.
So
Cosmic Binding not going to quite connect there, as the Winter's Bite does. Doctor will be able to slow him down. Gets the concussive blows. That's a fair bit of damage.
So they're making the Braum work early. That's good. This needs to be a trend, as a few minions will be lost, unfortunately.
Another nice Cosmic Binding there, as Dr. at least gets the experience for the other two melees, but it's otherwise not having a great time.
The Nidalee doesn't have Prio, and On Vision will take this blue buff away. That's from Raptors to blue, and kind of delayed timing of this makes it difficult to respond. Sion can't help. No, Corky can't help. So
it's just going to be some vertical jungling by the looks of things.
Yeah.
And Cuz going to move on over and get the bad news that Peanut is in here. But it also could be a little bit of a rough time, because we can see Cuz has full information, so therefore we'll be able to steal this one away for himself. It's nicely done to at least make sure that Peanut doesn't get a full clear, and in fact didn't take the Gromp either. So it is just an even trade, but it feels like Cuz's pathing was a little bit more...
it's a little slowed down.
Yeah, a little bit more, I guess, efficient, you could say.
Yeah. And I think, obviously, Peanut can just go back and normally farm here. And there were a lot of danger pings for BDD. Like, Cuz was like, hey, he could be around, but BDD's like, I'm Corky, so not really that worried about it. And we'll just continue to try to control Prio.
That's a good teammate right there. Just comes on over, Primal Surge, moves on.
Yeah, it's like, here's some additional lane power. Because BDD is playing the early part of what can be a volatile matchup pretty well.
Yeah, he's just walking at Zeka here. Going to use his Valkyrie to try and do some damage to those minions, as Perfect is almost dead. We have to remember that Zeus is, it's like a Zeus' greatest hits here in today's match, as we get his cannon into his Jace. His spear is going to connect there. Delight's in a lot of trouble. Has to flash to get out of the way, and then heals to make sure he can make it back towards his turret. In the meantime, Viper is still in a little bit of trouble.
They're trying to make this Braum pick work, and so far, I mean, it's giving them an angle to play through. That's what I was talking about in terms of the draft, and Nidalee at least has this angle, at least has this opportunity.
And this is the most annoying champion to dive here as well, as Perfect going to look to try and stop Peanut from getting this done. Doesn't get the crash into the wall. Soul Furnace is there as well, and that's a really nice flash, as they will get some plate money, but they're not going to kill the Scion, not in this dive. There's great little knock-up, or attempted knock-up there from Perfect, and then the wave is dead. Teleport's available!
Yeah.
He outplayed it!
Yeah, and Peanut also flashed to survive, so he's down a flash here. Sure, it's a trade of flashes, but you feel fantastic about this one. So they're going to look for a redive. I don't know about this.
Well, if at first you don't succeed, try again, everyone. That's what you're supposed to do. As
he lives.
Almost goes down. Perfect is going to be able to get the rest of these minions, as the Zombie Scion So isn't going to have to give up too much, I do not think. But still, first blood going over to HLE is a big deal as Delight moving in. Looks for the Cosmic Binding, gets it, but stand beside Braum. Peter will save his mid lane.
Oh, they still are able to make that secondary dive work because of the Nidalee attention bottom side. Peanut says, nah, we're gonna make this work. I'm spending a lot of time up here. And yeah, that ends up still being a successful dive.
It was a big investment, though, so Cuz should be able to get a lot off the map that Peanut was unable to get to.
So Peanut actually not getting aggro here before he's stunned is pretty huge. He still obviously picks up aggro right afterwards and has to flash away, but I think he probably would have been pretty doomed on the play if that knockup had happened or the stun had happened while he was with turret aggro. Comes in here, gets the stun, and then Zeus flashes away. Really nice aggro juggle there between the two of them. And the kill does go over to the Jace, so Zeus picks up an even larger lead here in this matchup. And this was the matchup I was most unhappy about in terms of what they did with this draft.
Yep. I mean, it's a rough matchup, but we do see Scions just picked so that they can exist and then be more valuable later. He's also able to get some grasp procs here, which is kind of nice.
Level 6 advantage for just a little bit. It doesn't matter for the ultimate for Jace, obviously, but still had an opportunity to maybe look for a play there. Peanut is nearby.
Yep, Self-Furnace Explosion does a fair bit. And Peanut not going to show his face just yet. Arcane Storm is down as VOD. Going to be dancing out of the way of a few of these buttons. And Zekka is unable to get too much there. Still, with a health lead, he's feeling okay about that as Peter needs to hit this Winter's Bite. See whether he does. He does not. So he's just going to have to walk this one off.
VOD has played so aggressively in this lane. Like every time we go over there, it's like he's down slightly on health, but he knows exactly how much he can push the advantage with the resistance shred on his Gatling gun. Doctom!
A little bit of a tag there from Doctom onto Zeus. Only level 5. Spear going to miss as we can see, but the sidestep has to come in, so Zeus knows he will not be able to get away. Frost shot just a little bit too strong, and Doctom able to put down the Jace. That is great here for KT. A little bit of an overextension there from the top laner of HLE.
Yeah, and Peanut was nowhere to be seen, so pretty aggressive move there from Zeus to be that far up, and it's just a little slow there from Doctom is all you need. This Ash pick is working a treat, got them a little bit of prio bottom side, was able to push Viper out, you know, and then they use that pressure there, and then up here on the top side, this slow does end up making a huge difference. They can kill Zeus there, didn't have flash available, just decides to go for an all-in turn. VOD still has his flash.
Yep.
And we'll dodge this time.
Yeah, Delight picking up a bunch of meeps, as we could see there, swimming through the river. I don't think KT are too worried about what's
This is a great
right
start.
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
yeah, I mean, this is actually working out way better than I expected, and I was, I mean, it's not surprising if it worked out at all to be way better than I expected, because I was a big doomer on this draft, but happy to see KT have been able to make it work so far in this early game. Still a big lead for Zeus, but it feels a lot better. You have been able to get a kill on the Nidalee.
Oh, 100%. And the fact that Doctom's in a good spot as well. His Ashe has actually been really good all season. He's undefeated on this champion, which is kind of nuts because they've been defeated on most things. Delight moving in though. Magical Journey for Zekka as well, as Doctom going to be flashing immediately, and Peter, able to just put up the door. And they will be all right. Not a lot invested to make that happen, and they do get a flash out of the 80 carry, and that's very important here for HLE.
Yeah. It was hype earlier this season. They got a pentakill on Ashe and the Scion composition. And if you have that front to back, it is very strong.
Oh yeah, Peanut in a little bit of trouble here as the Impale just avoided on both sides. Gorgeously played here by KT. The takedown not quite enough as Peanut pushes Cuz into the wall. Peter is following them though as the Winter's Bite comes down. Viper cleanses the slow. They get rid of the Victor, and now Cuz has pounced back in. The drive-by onto the Scorpion. And what's like, KT, how are they all still alive?
I mean, they just played it so well there, and Peanut gets caught in the jungle, and they look for a bit of a collapse there. Beautifully played.
That was the most agile, like, pest control officer I've ever seen.
Very clean stuff. Now, obviously, with all the attention there in the middle of the map around Peanut's jungle, there's no attention here to the bottom side, but Perfect has held his own.
Yeah.
We'll actually even make Zeus tanky turret shot there, but is going to be able to back away here. Does have his teleport. May just use it right away, but this is a pretty big lead here for KT's composition. You know, we're looking for a 2-item spike for Corki later. The Nidalee is significantly ahead of a Skarner. Obviously should be able to get a pretty big farm lead when prio is going your way, but didn't necessarily look like that was going to be the case. But we've seen BDD in particular control this lane so well, and the roam here from Victor is kind of what dooms Peanut, because he's not in a great spot to stop the rotation over from Corki. We know the top side is coming down with the Braum and the Ashe nearby, and Cuz plays this so well, goes back in.
Yeah, the pounce over and then the swipey swipe, and then he gets out.
Yep.
That's crazy. He's already planning on taking down these grubs.
You can see it there in the first-person view. He's got his pathing set straight there. They get 3 of the grubs after the play on Peanut, and that's significant. It's a lot of denied side lane pressure here for this Jace later on. Perfect already. They're starting to get to the point where you can neutralize this Jace a lot better.
Yep. Zeka going to get zoned away here by Perfect, but I don't think he misses out on too much. Deathray is able to clear up the backline pretty comfortably now, and so I think that the Victor is going to be A-OK. Peanut moving in, looking for a little bit of a target. The arrow going to come on through here from Doctom, but there are a lot of bad guys in this area, and he is just dead. Cut down by the piercing arrow. Nicely played there by Viper. Cuz gets here a little bit too late as now BDD and Zeus are fighting. Perfect will show up though. Roar the Slayer to slow him down. The flash comes in, but the rocket is prepared.
Maybe you were onto something today, Atlas.
Well, I did say it had to be a 2-0, so KT would definitely still be disappointing if they win.
If they lose game 1, the only way to make that 50-50 is to win game 2.
Oh yeah, and then we're up to a fresh 50-50 from that point on, I guess.
Zeka is in trouble and likely dead.
He is, yeah, definitely big time not alive.
The reason why that last play happened, too, we'll probably get a replay of, man, Zeka, he looked unhappy about what went down just there. As Peter is running the map right now, it feels like he's always where he needs to be on this Braum, which is really important in the early game. You're not great at engage later on, but in these skirmishes, you actually have a lot of power with your passive. Even your ultimate in these types of situations can be just enough to turn the tide, but the mid lane was controlled by Perfect. He pushed the wave in, then they made a play bottom side where they basically tempted Zeka to go down, right? They like drew him in, Peanut had that opportunity there, and then they got away, and that meant that there was an opportunity then top side to make the collapse because the ultimate was still available for Perfect. So he goes up top side and makes that play. Then on the return, Zeka gets caught. As this isn't going to mount to anything, but I got nervous for a second.
Yeah, there was a lot of, a couple of turret shots, fair bit of damage there from the turret. But you can see HLE, they don't have any way of locking down any feats of strength because that's already over to KT. As Peanut comes in, will interrupt, be interrupted, sorry, by the arrow from Doctom and makes his way back out again. This Skarner has kind of looked like a lot of other Skarners we've had in the LCK. It just doesn't feel like it's the same power level as Zeka. Zeka is really going to struggle to get out of the way of this one. Peanut's going to move over, but it looks like with a flash, it is going to work out here for Zeka. And the kitty cat going to get closed in on by Viper, who locks down yet another one.
Cuz he was able to outplay the Impale last time, but not this time.
That looked really close.
It was really close. And like that's one of those big tilters where you're like, oh, I was so close. Like everything was working out. Everything went so right for Hanwha in that moment, and the Impale hits, and down he goes, and what looked like it was a very exciting opportunity kind of ends in disaster.
I'd already started on the eulogy for Zeka, but he actually gets out of there just fine.
Yeah, well, with the help of a lot of friends.
Yes.
But his positioning in this game has been, I think, suspect at times, and BDD putting the pressure on him early, I think really helping out. And you can see BDD now with 3 kills is rushing towards that 3-item spike. Hanwha Life do take a gold lead, but it is very small after that last play. And again, I was writing the eulogy of the draft, the obituary. I already submitted it to the paper of KT, but this time Zeka does have this gravity field. The double stun buys just enough time here, and Peter, you know, he gets away, but Cuz decides to go in for the play, and this time the angle is good on the Impale.
Yeah, and you can see Doctom there off to the side as well. He's like, guys, there are way too many bad guys turning up. We just need to get out of here. As, all right, little T1 on the floor there, thanks to Carrier. And it's just a flash out from Doctom, but still highly valuable here for HLE. Make sure that they keep that mobility down on the AD carry of KT.
Only a 500 gold lead here now for Zeus in this top lane matchup as well. As BDD.
Yeah, he's going to have to find a direction to Valkyrie. Does so. Magical Journey comes on through. The flash forward from Delight gets the flash out from BDD. And the Arcane Storm comes in. Will he have his Valkyrie available? The answer is he doesn't need it because he's got a Braum coming up. As Perfect has just gone Battle Scion now. as he won't find the Roar of the Slayer, but does hit a little Q onto Zeus. The flash forward, spear will connect, and Cuz able to get on over there to at least watch him go down.
All right, Zeka's going to get a turret in exchange here, but that is a massive win. And the Scion starting to really come online here. BDD doesn't die, loses his flash, but escapes there on the bottom side. And KT feel like they're winning kind of everywhere in this exchange. And Perfect is going to get some alone time here with this turret. In fact, Cuz looks like he's going to help out, so they should be able to delete this from the map. So it'll be a trade of turrets in the end as well after that play. You can see Peter is up on the top side of the map to deny any sort of rotation over. Peanut seen on this ward. Yep. No backs will be stopped, so great play there. I was worried for BDD when Duckdom didn't ult to save him moments before that, but I think he was waiting to use his arrow for the top side play. But it works out. You know, KT just get away with it on both sides.
And it's a 3-0-1 Corki. If they had have got that kill, it would have been a lot of money. You can see it'd be like double that of any other kind of kill if they had been able to take him out. Could have actually swung the gold in a pretty meaningful way. May have helped out moving towards this Shelly fight we're seeing right here. Perfect just yelling at Shelly and then walking away. It's kind of rude. Just like walk over and yell at someone and then just wander off.
Yeah,
no explanation.
She's just chilling, man. She's just trying to,
exactly.
Trying to have a rest. Like,
it's weird. At least have a reason for it.
She's got a lot of charging to do later, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
She's got her beauty sleep. They're just going to get this Herald as Hanwha Life scramble to try to make a cross map happen in the bottom side of the jungle where Zeus has Prio there. And
Soul
they're
point
not really
in 40 seconds as well. If they get the Herald, use that to crash mid, they create so much added control.
I mean, Zeka went for Blackfire Torch first, which is not going to help him in the side lane really at all into the Corki, and that's where the lane assignment is there. So total control to BDD on the top side of the map. He has TP to show up for that dragon fight if he wants to keep putting that pressure on. Looks like he's going to go back here. I don't know how much gold he's sitting on right now, but it's significant. I don't think he'll be able to buy that second item at 16 minutes, but he is going to pick up some additional components here and come to the fight. Just 2 long swords in his inventory, but this is a really big one for Hanwha Life. And I don't think Zeka is really fully ready to fight. He does have the TP. Herald's going to be utilized, like you said, just for some Dragon Prio here. Straight into the mid lane.
Duckdom able to at least usher Shelly in. That's going to be a denied charge, but they had to invest the Tempered Fate into it. Crash into the wall there from Perfect. The driving not necessarily working out, as Cuz looking for some spears.
Big tool there used by Perfect, not finding any success, but still, they have so much control over this Dragon Pit right now.
Yep, they're pushing them all away. This is going to be Cloud Soul Point going over to KT.
Zeus, I mean, look at him pushing the bottom lane. I think they're just simply going to give this up. I mean, he can TP in, but it's going to be very awkward to force a fight.
And you never want to give it up. You never want to let him down, Wolf.
No.
But it's what's going to happen this time around. Peanut not going to be able to get in there, and Cuz should be able to lock this one through. There it goes. And now Zeus could be in trouble. Remember, Perfect doesn't have the ulti, but he's still so sticky, able to slow down this Jace. He's walking the wrong direction, and BDD, if Perfect doesn't have the damage, BDD definitely does.
It's just kind of bizarre decision-making in that moment. I understand the idea of just letting the Drake go and trying to push Zeus into the side, but he, of course, is on vision. Somebody has to come shadow him at least if you're going to give the Dragon. You got to keep your Jace alive down there. They just kind of left him there, left the Dragon, and then Zeus dies on the push. He's 1-4 on this Jace, and sometimes, you know, you might want to take the nameplate off if you're on a Life fan, because we're like, this Jace is one of his best. He's going to control the lane and has been punished so many times this game for greed.
Yeah.
And it is not working out the way that we thought it would, or especially I thought it would in this game.
And you also invest a lot of resources in the map to just a Zeus Jace in general, right? Like, often there are consolations that you have to make to try and allow him to be able to push further forward. And that is feeling a lot more costly now that they're not really getting the payoff of it, as the door does so much. And in goes Perfect, finds the knock up there onto Delight. He's out of this fight forever. Zeka now off to the side, getting chased off by this absolutely massive Scion. Man, it's like we're watching Pacific Rim, and this is like towards the end of the movie where the machines are actually the ones winning.
Yeah.
Perfect is looking pretty unstoppable at this point in time.
This lawnmower of a Skarner is not one of the winning machines.
No. Maybe this is actually the Hugh Jackman movie Real Steel, you know, and that's what we're watching. It's actually a machine battle. And unfortunately...
It's the sequel, Heart Steel.
Wait, that's a boy band, man. What are you talking about? Oh, dear. Well, yeah, Peanut is representing the robot that isn't winning. Let's just call it that.
Well, this game from here on out feels very difficult to play for the side of Hanwha Life Esports. Like, Zeka went for this build where he's going to cut through Sion incredibly well, and then he's indexing into a 2-item spike later on where he has Torch and Leandries, and he just makes quick work of Perfect, and he ramps his damage up in the fight, does a ton of work there. Didn't help him in the side lane, didn't help him in the early game control-wise, but that's really what I think Hanwha Life, Viper obviously significantly far behind in this game too, but they have great late game carries that can cut through the Sion. Obviously later on, just going to have to be clean team fighting before we get there. And if Hanwha keep getting caught in sides or keep having these awkward setups because KT's vision game has been so good here, maybe we won't get to see that front-to-back fight that Hanwha Life are banking on when we get to this 4th dragon here. Otacon's going to spawn in 5 seconds time. KT are faster on the grouping.
Wow, the robot's name is Zeus. I think it's the bad guy robot is also is like spelled Zeus, right? Like, oh my god!
I guess we were pronouncing his name wrong the whole time.
I think there'd be some people that would agree with you there, Wolf.
No, I meant the robot.
No, yeah. They were pronouncing it wrong because they weren't watching the Korean dub.
Yeah, no.
Which has Zeus in it, obviously.
Yes.
Man, I love that movie. The movie's actually fantastic. It's a real easy watch, you know? I would recommend it. It's a feel-good.
Yeah.
You know?
It's not a feel-good if you're a Zeus fan in this game so far, though.
Or in the movie, to be honest.
Very true. It's kind of holding up the same way as Perfect should be able to stop this back, and he will. Otacon, again, better vision here for KT Rolster on the top side of the map.
And Perfect can get, the arrow going to sail by. Zeus going to avoid that one. It was a great attempt because you can see it's extremely dark to the south of where Dokdom is.
Yeah.
Not a lot of heads up there from Zeus, but still able to be in a different position when it did come to call.
Even if you force his flash, it feels really good. If you hit him there, probably dead, and Perfect just backs and TPs to Otacon. So at least that doesn't happen. Dokdom keeps this turret alive here, but they lost a little bit of control over the Otacon. That's where Hanwha Life are now grouped. Zeus, I don't know what he was waiting for there.
Oh, Perfect. Oh, can he actually? Yes. Oh, no, he can't. He's not going to hit the cannon, which is a bit of a shame.
Every time the observers come down here, I'm like, is something no, nothing is happening still, no. Zeus is waiting to, come over there.
For his turn to hit minions.
Yeah.
and then it's Perfect's turn to hit minions. And
okay, hold on. Cuz is here now. Maybe something is happening. No, never mind. No. Acceleration gate and nothing is happening.
Yeah, well, there's unending despair for Perfect. That was the last game. I feel like it's the wrong item for this game because he seems to be having a really good time. Great turnaround here for Perfect as well, who we know is a bit of an emotional player as well, can get a little bit down on himself. So good to see him bounce back after a tough game 1.
All right, the Cloud Soul is ready.
Yep.
And there's no prio here. I mean, Hanwha Life got some vision on Otacon, but with KT not interested in fighting there, it didn't end up being very relevant. Now they're grouped up here better.
Basically, they have to win a fight now, and they have absolutely no control of the area. There are a few wards around here for HLE.
Zeka hit his 2-item spike. I mean, there's an angle potentially if they could front to back this, but it's going to be so hard.
The neutral is so interesting as well between these two teams because of the rockets and the spears and the death rays and the shock blasts, right?
Zeus has
arrows.
No vision to fire into. I mean, there's so much control vision here for KT. Like, he wants to aim a shock blast onto a squishy, but he has no idea where they are.
Yeah, and whoever has the vision has so much control because they have all of those poke tools. HLE going to move in, but they're not going to be contesting this Cloud Soul. As Peanut wanting to set up for a potential impale. He'll find a Braum who has the door up. They still manage to take him down though as the Tempered Fate will connect onto Cuz. Great double knock up here as now Zeus is out of the fight and BDD is so incredibly big. Viper unable to stand and deliver with these auto attacks. And KT, they've got the Cloud Soul. They had to sacrifice Peter, but I think they'll probably say that it's worth.
Yeah. Cloud Soul is going to be pretty strong for them, and they maintain control. No edge here for Hanwha Life. No vision for Zeus to hit those shock blasts. So difficult to play the neutral. And you can see Zeka did a ton of damage because he has this 2-item spike now online. But they're not able to fight together, not able to get that front to back they were looking for. It's KT for the aggressors. And from here, I thought, okay, maybe just let the kind of kite back and escape. But they actually go in, and it's a play here from Peter, where he dies but ends up absorbing so much pressure. The ult comes out from Delight as well, but Duckdom does so much over the wall, forces Zeus' flash. BDD is just chiseling in some damage, and Hanwha Life with the low health bars there just cannot stay.
Yeah, and the reason, okay, never mind, we got a bit of a fight here, as Delight is already very dead. Peanut crashes on forward, but the turret is going to go down, and now Zeus off on a flank angle is going to nail Duckdom with that shock blast, actually picking the gap there quite beautifully. But still, KT get exactly what they're looking for, and they are so swift about it as well.
I mean, this is also Duckdom who doesn't have his IE. He's about to pick it up on this back right now, and then he's going to do serious damage in these front-to-backs. He does have it locked in, and I'm worried about how these fights are going to look here for Hanwha Life Esports if they don't have vision. You saw what Zeus can do when he could see enemy champion. He doesn't miss those. Like, he hit Duckdom. He was able to thread the needle on that one. He's going to have to do that a ton in these upcoming fights. And now he doesn't have his flash, so he's a vulnerable target. Viper still has both of his summoners, so that's very critical here, as they will take out the mid turret as well. But just so much aggression from KT. They don't have standard engage.
Oh,
so
somehow the Q hit.
We kind of glossed over that last time. We came into the fight a little bit late, but
yeah, it looked because you know, Delight watched it get charged, right?
Yeah.
Which I think we didn't quite get the context of. But if I was Delight, I'd probably also think that I wasn't quite in it.
Yeah, it's a tricky hitbox, as Chronicler will often tell you.
Indeed.
Perfect has TP, so he can kind of just be over here and you know, miss off vision and like Hanwha Life like, ugh, you know, we can't really fight anything. They have some vision on the edge of the Otacon there, which is very nice for them, very important. So they don't know that BDD is backing right now necessarily. They have a question mark ping there on the bottom side, like, okay, maybe Perfect is going to finish off the turret. They're not sure. Zeka doesn't have TP, so goes bottom side to try to protect the turret, but now isn't here for this contested vision. And KT are playing the map really well.
Yeah, it's beautifully done. As Peter, standing stalwart, just trying to stop them from being able to get any vision around this Baron, but Cuz spots out the fact that they did manage to at least get one ward over there. And Delight has parked himself over here. Will not be able to stun up Peter or anything like that, but able to at least get a bit of added information as split pushing on the side there is BDD. And they're just going to start Otacon. I think they probably can as well, because there's not a lot of inroads here for HLE.
I really think it's quite difficult for Hanwha Life to challenge, and with that IE online here for Duckdom, it's going to go fast.
Yep, information goes over though, so HLE, they know what's up, and Delight can throw down the template. Arrow is going to connect onto Peanut, sorry, and they get rid of him. Great knock up there just to make sure that the Skarner is not getting out, because this could equal Baron time as well, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, that was so well played. Peter goes over there, identifies exactly where the Skarner is. They put an arrow on him. He can't steal, and that's Otacon. Viper, where are you going?
Well, the train has left the station, and so has Viper. They do get a fantastic Tempered Fate, but the Arcane Storm does absolutely nothing. Perfect just gets into the mix, but Zeus takes out Peter. It's a noble sacrifice, though, and down goes Viper as well, who was just a little bit of an Owen Wilson there behind enemy lines. Not able to get it done. KT, they'll go back to what they wanted to do before, and they have had a monopoly on these objectives, only losing out on, I think maybe, no, nothing. Actually nothing. Every neutral objective has gone to KT this game.
Yeah, though, every single one. That sign that we keep showing is this, Cuz has to live for KT to live. And it's been somewhat true in this game. He's only had one death. And he has, even without the topside prio, I think with BDD playing the mid matchup so incredibly well, I mean, he had so many angles this game, but watch this play here. Peter's like, all right, we know where Peanut is. I want to keep him away. Duckdom says, I'll help you do that. And they guarantee the smite. And then also, because there's no reason to then further the play, because Perfect has the Tri-Brush under control, no one can save Peanut, so he just dies. And Viper, on a kind of unusual flank angle here, perhaps trying to layer some damage into the carries at the back, but just isn't going to be able to do anything. They can't cut through the Scion, and Viper is just a sitting duck. So Duckdom can also slow and help peel to make sure this is not an overextension on the chase onto the Varus. So KT get literally everything.
Yeah. And now there is 45 seconds until Elder. So that is like the most Exodia ever. Like if we're talking about it in Yu-Gi-Oh terms, the other side doesn't have cards.
Yeah.
You have your full deck in your hand and they don't have cards. That's how it kind of works.
Yeah, or more or less.
Yeah. So it's a rough time. Let's just say that as far as objectives are concerned and extra stats and stuff like that. And do you know what just it makes me mad and proud and happy at the same time. Like, it's a lot of emotions. It's the fact that KT are playing this game so well coordinated.
Yeah, and it's like
every decision, like every arrow that comes out is followed by like a smite happening, and Peter is now caught, but he flashes away. It's a different story here. Is now Peanut. I'm not sure about that one, Peanut, but the Tempered Fate not really doing anything for HLE's benefit. KT had just spared some turret shots.
It's KT also in this game where they're constantly holding on to the control. You know, they're never letting it go. They're taking a lead and pushing it so well. And we haven't seen KT get as many leads as they'd like to, especially some of the early game drafts they've picked. But this time, they were able to get it early, and they just won't let it go. And I'm not making any errors. Zeka, on the other hand, is making a big error here.
Yep. There is an Elder Dragon. Some bounty gold coming on through here, but there's the dragon comes down from the sky. Winter's Bite is pretty powerful. And Passive blows procced, and that is the main wave clear now dead. KT are just marching it up this bottom lane. And this is even more decisive than game number 1.
And I stand by. I don't think this draft was better for KT, but sometimes comfort can be enough, man. And Perfect on this tank, Cuz on his Nidalee, Ductum on his iconic Ashe.
BDD on this Corki that he's like dominating on, watching him Valkyrie over this base gate, looking like he's having the best time ever.
Sometimes if you're just the better team.
Yep. BDD just walking the dog, man. Look at him go. There it is. Taking down the Jace. Peanut going to get snagged by the arrow, and it doesn't matter how many times he gets McHale's, he is still dead. Down goes Viper as well. It's a double kill here for BDD on the 9-0-4 Corki. There goes the Nexus, and KT, they'll take game number 2. Don't ask me what it means, but it was an impressive game from KT.
Will KT be the first team to punish a shaky Hanwha Life Esports where they've had some mid games where they made a lot of big errors, where they've made overextensions like we saw in game 1, some rocky fights that don't need to be the way that they've been played out? Is it gonna be Cuz taking Peanut out and a jungle lead that ends up being the reason why Hanwha Life take their second loss of the season? We'll have to wait and see in game 3, but if you're a KT roster fan, you're feeling very hopeful now. And as we go deeper into Fearless, things are going to get very interesting as now the Scion's gone. You know, Perfect won't be able to play that a second time, even though I didn't really prefer that he played it in this game. He played it well, and they played around it well. And Cuz kind of just ran circles around the Skarner pick. Like, he ran circles around Peanut. We saw BDD constantly pushing Zeka out of his comfort zone. Zeka was caught several times trying to patch the hole in the bottom lane where the Braum pick did work here for Ductum and Peter.
7k damage. Cuz's Nidalee is absolutely absurd. The person with the fan sign actually knew. 100% they knew. If Cuz is alive, you're going to win.
I wasn't a knower. I saw that Nidalee first pick and I was like, I saw a draft and I was like, well, good luck. Cuz is great at Nidalee, but it's not going to happen. But I am happy to be wrong because we have a 3-game series on our hands, Atlas.
Yeah, and this is a KT roster that so many KT fans have wanted to see, right? One that can actually challenge the top of the table. And that is precisely what they're doing now. Who knows whether they're going to win the series? It's time for us to take a short break. Then the Space going to break down the KT win and see whether there is a possible other KT win in this series or not. We'll see.
좀 더 기다려, 좀 더 기다려. 바로? 바로 키가 멀어. 괜찮아, 당근이 깨져. 나 90초. 옆에서 포킹 쏜다, 막아줘. 브라움이랑 사이온이 막아줘, 포킹만. 우리 타워 쳐면 돼. 끝. 노플이야. 이거 바텀으로 가, 바텀으로. 타워 쏜다, 이거. 나 스카우트 볼게, 그냥. 빨리 볼게. 얘들아, 타워 치면 돼, 아래쪽 타워. 제이스 노플. 잡았고. 나이스, 아래쪽 타워. 앞에부터 때릴게, 앞에서 때릴게. 맞춰. 타워부터. 몸 좀 해줘. 나이스. 오호, 나이스.
It's about a 0.63% chance of winning. because there are a lot of vibes that are really heavily against KT. For one, there is a guy in the Reddit thread, the post-match thread, saying cautiously excited. So thank you very much for that. KT's going to lose. HLE, pretty good when it comes to deciding games in a series.
Also, I think
the standings.
KT playing their best champions in that last game, even though I didn't necessarily like how it was going to go. Like, they played it to their mastery, right? We saw a perfect, great on the tank. He's not playing Rumble this series, which I think is his best champion. I think most people would agree, as that's banned again here in this third and final game. So I'm curious what KT puts together this time around, and how locked in Life are, because that last game performance was not great, and the Skarner was definitely not working as intended. I love this Viego ban, because that's another one of Cuz's very, very strong picks that we've seen Niche picked here in the LCK, but Cuz gravitates towards it a lot because he likes to be that carry jungler guy.
There are not a lot of junglers left.
No.
Rumble could also be considered a jungler.
Technically.
But not in this meta. The Yone going to still be taken away here. It does make a lot of sense away from Zeka. Let's see what the first pick is going to be.
Azir.
I think Azir is certainly pretty high prio, and you need to take it away from BDD.
See if BDD is brave enough to play something like a Sylas into this, or even crazier like an Akali, because the mid pool is also pretty significantly thinned out, and the Corki is gone, Victor's gone, so
I think it has to be a Kalista something lock-in. I don't know whether you really want to lock in Kalista Renata right here.
It's risky. I mean, Nico is still available, of course.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And okay, Annie is going to be the answer here.
Annie.
Could still be a flex, although I don't know how I feel about Kalista Annie as a bot lane duo, but I think that the Kalista pick here is also relatively risky. Puts a lot of the weight on Duckdom's shoulders. We talked about how he's been much better as a utility AD carry player so far this season. Let's see what does eventuate out of this. Is Peanuts looking for his Sejuani. Tried and true.
Yep.
Heartsteel stacks. You know, he's tried to build a few of them last game around. Maybe we'll get a few more this time. There is no Yone available, but maybe we'll see the Jax come through this time.
Yeah, it could be Jax, could be Camille, something like that.
Renekton?
Renekton does get the job done as well. Gives you a bit more early power at the same time. Feels a bit more blind pickable.
Yeah, definitely of the stronger picks, I feel like is the most blindable, because it wins almost any matchup if you play it well. This is not what I expected, though.
And it's also not how I was expecting this round of picks to go, because I thought they'd be trying to deny a Renata lock-in by just picking Nico and showing that you can't do anything about it. But instead, KT are going to allow those picks to be banned? No, surely not. Surely they just lock in Renata here and ban Nico.
Well,
That's got to be the play.
I don't think Fiora is the R3 lock-in at this point in the draft.
I don't think Yorick is either.
I'm starting to wonder if this really is going to be Annie's support.
Oh my god, it could be.
Yeah, like I was, saying I don't necessarily like it that much, but it's not the worst, and they are red side, so they get to kind of hold the flex, as the Yorick will get locked in. I think it's probably still a safe bet to ban Renata here if you are Hanwha Life Esports.
Yeah, I think you ban Renata Nico, and then it takes away a lot of the power of KT Rolster's bottom lane.
Yeah, Misfortune, I think, is a strong ban here. With this draft, Viper could opt for a Draven pick. I don't think it's out of the question, because you're playing into low-range Kalista. It's pretty good on the matchup. Like, it becomes a skill-based duo down there. They take the Renata away. Not really a shocker to anyone.
Yep, and I think the Nico is probably even more obvious as far as the ban is concerned, because Peter was so good at it. I'm looking at this Yorick, man. I'm like, if it doesn't say Morgan, like, on your nameplate, I'm not interested.
Yeah, same.
You know?
Do like the Xayah ban. Pretty safe into this composition. Very great scaling damage with the Azir you already have. So that makes a lot of sense to me. As you can ban just the Nico away here if you'd like to. Just take away some of that power. It's been one of Peter's best, frankly. Like, it's a great pick for Peter. He's been so comfortable with this. Yep, great for laning. And, if you want to pick it up yourself, too bad, because you're on blue side and you don't have pick cryo. They'll ban the Alistar instead. So, I mean, unsurprisingly,
this Nico is like the snap lock-in is the most obvious thing in the universe. But I guess with the fact that Alistar was still up, like, they had 3 different options, right, going into that ban phase. So it does make the Yorick pick look a little less bad than what I was expecting.
Oh, are we going Lucian Melio into Callista? We're trying to make it work, trying to make it a thing. Are we even supposed to go Lucian Nami? And I don't think so. That's not a thing anymore.
That seems
all right.
a little bit rough.
I thought we were just gonna maybe see a scaling pick here instead. Like Zeri's still relatively safe. It's a tough matchup in the lane, but
Ooh, Elise.
this is risky. Like I feel like it's not bad, but it has to be really finessed.
Yeah, you need to hold someone in place so that Peanut can land a prison, though. I kind of like that, the fact that you can fish with cocoons. But it does mean that they have only the Sejuani as far as frontline is concerned. And Cuz is looking at a J4. He's going to lock that one in. And Peanut has a little bit of a giggle at the whole situation.
I mean, it's got such insane synergy with the Nico. You know, Pop Blossom plus the Jarvan ult, plus the ability to follow
also,
up flag
think about the
drags.
Cataclysm Ghoulie Wall Venn diagram.
God. And they put Tibbers in there?
Oh my god. Flaming Bear Circle?
I thought the Geneva Commission outlawed this.
I think they did, actually.
I don't think it's allowed to be played.
Unfortunately, we found the forbidden tech, and KT have decided to employ it here on the red side here in the LCK. I think the authorities will be waiting to take them away, but they will not be able to interrupt the game because of competitive integrity reasons.
Lehens has such great mastery of Elise that sometimes when he blind picks it early in the draft, I go, I don't know about this, but he plays it really well. We haven't really seen Delight do that. I think this pick, in this case, with all the other engage options they have an Mbessa in this composition, they have an Azir. You don't necessarily need an engage support, and you have a lot of other ways to control vision, so even though the Elise can be quite squishy.
Oh, that's so cute. He's trying to hold up the sign.
I actually don't remember this Digimon's name. Like, of all the times, finally they put the one up. And
I know
its name.
Is it Patamon,
right?
Is it Pat?
No, it's not. Patamon's the one with the wings for ears.
That was wings for ears, kind of.
Well, I mean, like, they fly. Like, Patamon's like orange looking, and it's got a white belly.
What is it, chat? Let us know, chat, please. If you guys know... no, that's not what that is. Okay, let us know while we're doing the intro stuff. I want to know exactly what it's Terriermon.
Terriermon, that's right.
There we go. Let's jump into the rift.
세상사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
All right, here we are under the rift for game number 3, the decider between KT and HLE. And I've got so many like Gyarados and Pikachu and Mewtwo, and you guys are actually you're not taking the question seriously. However, we did have a lot of the correct answer there in the chat as well, so we appreciate you.
Yeah, no, I was wrong because it's not the one that turns into VMA. I think this one's from season 3 where they have like the cards in the show, and then it turns into a big bunny with machine guns for hands.
There was definitely a lot of that. A lot of like the third Digivolve forms, just like that plus guns.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. Do you remember Pal World, man? Where did that game go?
I didn't play that game.
Has it lost or won its court case yet?
I don't know.
I haven't been keeping up.
Last I heard, it didn't look good.
Oh, really? It started off not looking great as far as like things working and stuff like that is concerned. But it was an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Anyway, we do have a little bit of an invade here from KT.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot Terriermon, though. I'm disappointed in myself.
I wasn't really a Digimon guy. I sort of just did the Pokemon thing.
I mean,
I had a Tamagotchi.
Season 1 and 2 was what I was all about. Then, like, beyond that, Digimon got a little bit weird for me. I got a little bit older. I still, like, tuned in occasionally, but I wasn't really following, you know what I mean? But let's talk about the game again for a minute, because I think Cuz... You know, he has, you know, a quite unique champion pool oftentimes, and he will pick things that other people aren't playing. It's been pretty standard so far this season, but the Nidalee first pick is one of those moments, right, where you're like, okay, I'm not sure about this, but I trust you. Jarvan, kind of the same thing for me. It's the first time he's playing it this season. It's the first time anyone's played it this season.
Oh, perfect. Okay, maybe Yorick is just busted. Never mind. Perfect and Morgan, they're the ones that are allowed. Peter maybe not allowed to play the Nico anymore. Never mind, he's a great Nico player, but he did take a lot of damage there. That didn't look too fantastically fun.
Well, you know, sometimes with Yorick, the only way to win the game is to not play and just not interact with him. But Zeus, sometimes he can't help himself, man. He likes to interact with him.
He does like to do that.
So that might have been what transpired there. We kind of missed the beginning of it, but looked very good for Perfect at the end. Not going to see any crazy level 3 gank from the Jarvan. Have seen that quite a lot in the past, but not going to happen in this game. I think the composition here for KT is very simple. is set up a lot of circles, and then Ducktom closes the distance and puts spears in them.
Yep.
And Tibbers does big stun.
I reckon that has a bit of a vibe to it. That doesn't sound too bad. Keep the Maiden in the side lane and allow Perfect to put added pressure on as well. That could certainly be important as Cuz he's going to have his Grump stolen away perhaps. Delight coming on over here to see what's going on, and Cuz just moves in. Peter also making his way back to lane. And Cuz is just going to be able to defend his Grump. So that's the first bit of action outside of Peter taking most of his health bar in damage.
BD has a stun prepped.
Yep, he is going to be able to get that one off onto Peanut here, just in time for Cuz to come on over. Flash needs to be employed as Peter did make his way in. He flashed for that one as well, though, so he could certainly be a target. As Delight very far away from his bottom lane.
Yeah, just not really 100% on board with the Peanut call there, considering the mid laner was not in the mid lane, and he was very nearby, and their mid laner was not anywhere nearby, so...
Delight. Delight is nearby. So is Viper, though, and they're flashing for it. Cocoon barely missing, and Perfect is just going to go down. That is first blood going over to Viper of all people. And just a little bit of an awkward position, given the fact that Viper made his way over just that little bit earlier.
Yeah, it looked like Delight was caught, but you know,
yeah,
he actually had some friends nearby. Viper is going to be able to pick up the first kill of the game, so pretty huge win for him, as he was able to get through the laning phase really well, and now actually has the faster lane swap topside here. You can see Ducktom and Peter trying to come over and catch the wave. Will lose some experience there. Perfect opts not to TP because he doesn't need to the bottom lane. So he does end up with TP advantage, but it doesn't really necessarily matter with Yorick because he doesn't really want to show up to team fights all too much.
No.
So I would give a pretty big edge to Hanwha Life off of that last play, even though moments before it looked pretty bad when Pete was forced to flash and nearly got taken out.
Yeah, it's starting to feel a little bit like the stats were kind of accurate as far as the win percentage chances for KT here in this game.
You just had 0.68, was that what you said?
Yeah, as public execution going to be employed here towards Perfect, who takes half of his health bar, and Zeus is just going to continue zoning him away. Thankfully, the minions do run out.
2 levels down.
Yeah, and in comes Delight. He can drop turret aggro at any time, so Perfect is not going to have a good time if he sticks around, and that means a full wave is going to be eradicated. Now you do have Cuz moving in, and the Ghoulie wall looking to be frustrating here. As Peter comes down. So at least Perfect able to get into range of some of this experience.
I don't think you can make anything of this, KT. Perfect is going to TP now to the top side of the map, where hopefully he will get some farm. Maybe he'll get some time to kill the minions. Not looking great for a first dragon here for the side of KT Rolster. They do have the Jarvan here, though, and actually it's a bit of a late rotation from Viper.
All right, Peter going to get a snare onto Delight. He doesn't have a large health bar as he goes up into the sky, but the Spider does have to come down. So that is going to be a kill going on over to Cuz. A pretty happy Jarvan here who does want to get accelerated in this game.
I mean, Zeus didn't have ult, but he was also just not getting involved in that play, as Viper does show up now, but the rest of his team has left, so he had to commit to coming all the way down. He wasn't just going to stop halfway. So now there's no one dealing with top, although Zeus should be able to catch some of these.
God,
and
the
it's just
skin
a free
is so
dragon.
cute as well. The Ghoulie cat wall.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only Yorick skin you're allowed to play it.
It's pretty good. There have been some real weird ones that we've seen. I was always just like a play the pentakill skin, you know, and move on with your life. You know, the base player Yorick.
The staff that he wields has the like angry vein bulging symbol on it, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty
Because he's
good.
really mad and he wants to hit things. He's also mad that his cats keep dying. It's kind of messed up.
True, but they come back again.
That's true. Yeah. No, it's okay,
So
but
it's
he's mad
totally
for
okay.
a brief moment. And then everything is okay. While he's mad, he just hits things with a stick.
Yeah.
And then they come back and it's okay.
Or a shovel. Do you remember that movie that had the superhero The Shoveler in it?
No.
I'm
going to say no.
I can't remember the name of the film. It is definitely an old situation, but it was a fantastic film. Oh, I just can never remember the name.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of shovels in film.
Yeah, well, this guy is his thing. He was actually the shoveler.
The shoveler.
His superhero power was to wield a shovel. I don't know whether that just makes him a gardener or something, but I don't know.
I feel that way when I clean the litter box in the morning.
Yeah, well, Peanut feels that way right now as he is in a little bit of trouble, but the rest of his team's here to try and defend him. Good flash out from Cuz, but Zeus there to defend him immediately. Great knockup from the Fates call, though, and they execute the Ambessa. And now Delight just has to try and bail out of it. But look, Zekker's also losing a trade here in this mid lane. And it's not over yet. There's the Cocoon landing, the Ren to slow down Delight. The flash forward from Peter. He's not giving this Spider any way out. And KT back on the board in a big way.
Yeah, I feel like KT may be the team to punish Hanwha Life Esports. The plate goes over to Perfect here in the bottom side. They are winning everywhere.
And they just came off a 2-0 against DK as well. And we were attributing that mainly to DK not playing very well. And I think a lot of, there's column A, column B as far as that argument is concerned. But maybe KT, no.
Well, wait, hold on.
No,
Can't we just mention that Hanwha Life Esports also have a little column A, column B in this one as well?
I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. I think at the point where KT are going to MSI, that's when we'll probably be able to say that they're looking like a pretty good team.
Well, look at what Cuz is calling here, because he's waiting for the play to come through. He knows they're looking for the engage. He has flash. He calls it out, goes over the wall. Now, unfortunately for Zeus, he's way too far forward, and they can turn onto the Elise, even with the repel here well placed on the Krugs to get away. Cuz is calling it out moments before, and it's seeing KT do really smart things and be a 5-man unit that only comes around once in a while.
Yep, Delight gonna have to flash immediately here as well. They turn the Cocoon onto him because Delight knows that he has no other way out. And it is now just the Goon Squad, man. They're just moving around, looking to try and take down everyone that they can find. It is gonna be one of the grubs being taken here, but that is still gonna be feats of strength, able to go over to KT, or at least a third of one, as now Perfect just back into domination position here.
And KT will take the rest of the grubs, so at least Peanut was able to get one. He's also kind of hanging around here because Zeka has prio.
And it used to be that taking one of the grubs felt really good because you denied like the objective and all that sort of stuff, but now it's not the case anymore.
No, certainly not.
Good flash out. Yeah, good one there from Perfect. Identified the fact that Delight and Zeus together probably would be able to cause him a bad time. That's 50 got, and they managed to execute the Maiden.
Zeus is like, man, don't take my gold though.
Yeah, Perfect Maidenless once again. It's unfortunate.
It's okay though, because he's doing a good job in the laning phase. He's only a little bit behind. He had some pretty good plays so far this game already. Yep, Viper.
Oh dear. Well, Pop Blossom is going to come on through there, and Peanut comes on over, but Viper is already dead. So Peanut gets in there, throws out a thing, and then says, no, I will leave. And does so. Now Cuz coming on over, gets the flash out of Zeka, and then puts him in the Cataclysm. And he's just waiting for some way to get out. He is going to be able to do so as, oh my goodness.
Don't do it.
That's a tilt. Don't do it. He hits him with a flag and takes down the Azir. I really thought that Cuz was just going to somehow die in that situation.
Yeah, me too. I was like, no. I've seen too much Jarvan solo queue.
Yeah, HLE fans looking a bit bemused by this whole situation.
This is a 3-0-3 Jarvan.
It is.
Now in this game. 6 out of 7 KP. He is quite large. He has the, one of 3 completed items on the Rift right now, the Sundered Sky.
I want to talk a little bit about the fact that Doctom has just had 2 really good games, or 1.5 really good games in a row.
I mean, he has, and I also feel like Hanwha Life Esports are really just not respecting KT Rolster, and KT Rolster have a composition to where if you overextended them, if you make a mistake into them, they're incredibly punishing, right? They have the Annie, they have the Jarvan, the Yorick, you give it, take it or leave it. But like into the Nico as well. Like if you overextend, you can't just go, oh, I cancel. Like I'm backing out. You just get wiped. You just get obliterated if you mess up the fight. And even with the Elise that's so slippery, you're just not that safe. Like Delight has died 3 times this game, getting caught or basically trying to bail somebody else out who was caught, because it's more valuable for him to die than somebody else. But either way. KT have built a huge lead, and Infernal Soul again. This
you
time
saw how quickly that dragon went down as well. The amount of damage on KT right now is kind of absurd.
I mean, they have a Callista, so objective control and objective speed is going to be in their wheelhouse.
I think their win percentage has gone up to about 5.7 now. I think we're actually at whole numbers. We're at whole numbers. It's pretty impressive here for KT. Right now, Perfect is in a little bit of danger, as we can see a Sejuani in the area. The bottom lane is moving on over, but I don't know whether they'll quite get here in time if they do decide to go for the dive. The shovel comes out as Peanut. Let's see whether they can actually finish him off before this bottom lane arrives. Peanut having to flash because the Ghoulie Wall caught him in a very awkward scenario, and Cuz, of course, going to get on in here. Public execution comes down, but Cuz, eyes on the prize, and is going to be able to take down the overgrown Poro. Peanut nowhere to go and will just be eviscerated. So Cuz continues the onslaught, 4-0-3.
Zeus down his ultimate now, but more importantly, Peanut flashed and still died, and they're looking for more here. I don't know if they should, maybe just a plate and get out, but
yeah, there's also a Lucian just taking a turret for free on the bottom side.
A bit of a concern. You know, the Lucian taking a turret on the bottom side is a small problem, but ultimately he's not going to get the whole thing. There is at least one good bit of news for Hanwha because that's in part what's keeping this gold so even, is the fact that Perfect hasn't been killing minions a lot. He's 40 CS behind Zeus, even though he had that a few moments in this game where we're like, oh, can he kill Zeus? Or wow, he's controlling this lane. He really isn't actually in control of the matchup and has been kind of roaming around with his team a little bit.
Yeah, that's a bear. As Viper is not going to be able to at least fight back against BDD. Thankfully, not going to die just yet, as there is no first item completed yet for BDD. And you really do see that the Tibbers doesn't quite do as much of the burst damage as he used to.
No.
But especially not when the Annie isn't exactly...
Well, that's the one place, too, where, you know, you have a member on KT who's not, like... I mean, obviously the Yorick I already mentioned, but like BDD is not controlling the lane. He hasn't picked up any of this gold. It's been Duckdom and Cuz who have really controlled the rest of the game. I mean, BDD has been somewhat of a facilitator, but has otherwise just had a quiet game on the Sandy, so he's not super big just yet. You can see the gold where it is right now for Hanwha Life is in their solo lanes, Zeka and Zeus, and this game is still very playable. It's just, again, we're getting enthusiastic about KT because they're playing this early game so well.
Yeah, you gotta definitely give credit where it's due, but this is by far not over. And this turret, it's gonna go down. So that'll be first turret going over to HLE. That's gonna give them a legitimate gold lead at this point in time. As KT look to grab themselves a Rift Herald. Zeus and Delight in the area though. BDD and Cuz a little wary about how this one's going, especially with Viper rotating up from mid lane. Duckdom and Peter will take a Ardent Blaze.
Zeka does not have teleport. Well, back though, and with a really successful deny of the Herald here from Hanwha Life Esports, they have plenty of time to get him back into the thick of things. This is what I'm most worried about, is the Yorick. Because the Yorick is not in a great spot in this game. Like, he is sitting on components. Everyone else has got items completed, at least every non-support. And he's just not going to be able to fight, not going to be relevant, and it's otherwise a 5v4 up here on the top side. Zeka shows up, he's got his ult, he's got flash, and I don't think KT can fight for this.
Yep, let's see whether KT are going to get the memo or not, as there's the Glacial Prison, the combo comes in, Tibbers goes down as well, but Cuz just manages to kill the Ambassador. They go 1 for 1, but it is still HLE with control of the river. That was pretty sexy, I have to say. As 4 versus 5, Perfect is still in the bottom lane, and Peter is not going to be stealing anything away with a Blooming Burst.
They got the teleport out of Zeka, but didn't get the turret. Peter hands on his head for a moment there, but I don't think he really thought he was going to get the steal. As there's a lack of vision here, BDD needs to be respectful.
Yeah.
Luckily for him, this wave is pushing though, but unluckily for him, not enough for him to get the cannon. Perfect got some catch-up minions down there on the bottom lane. They got the kill back onto Zeus, which feels nice, but Hanwha Life are kind of rapidly taking control back of this game. And at this point, you don't have 5 players, they do. And it's interesting that KT still decide to play this with the Tibbers they have on hand. They think they can at least stymie and engage. Maybe they get a multi-man stun, but it's only Zeus who trades his life there. And the objective does go over. They don't get the turret bottom side. And we're going to have to see KT can get themselves a contest on this dragon, because again, Yorick is not a champion and he's not really a side lane threat right now, so going to be challenging. BDD does have teleport if he needs to get here quickly, and I think he might.
Yeah, this is Soul Point available for KT, but once again, it's a similar position to what we were experiencing last time around. This time, Zeus is split pushing towards his top side, teleport in hand.
Yeah, I feel like KT still somehow were able to just walk up and start this dragon.
Yep, Rift Herald is just going to take down the mid-outer turret, and that is the price that KT are going to have to pay for Soul Point. I think they'll probably pay it gladly, as they will get another charge. Maybe not quite as glad as we'll see whether a Ghoulie Wall is going to come on through. It's not.
Delight's going to just zoom away with his dash cannon, but I think for KT, you're very happy because, well, it might be happier.
Yeah, Viper is just going to get cataclysmed. Flashes out of that one. Does definitely have to do so as the Fates Call comes in. Peter finds the Pop Blossom and down goes Peanut. Not a whole lot to fight for at this point in time because, of course, the Dragon just went down. Arakan's not up for another 2 minutes' time, so not exactly the most painful death for Peanut, but still, good bit of tempo back for KT.
I mean, Hanwha Life had Herald before the Dragon, and they had the teleport for Zeus, and they just simply let the Dragon go. We're going to watch this catch here, but I think the bigger story, and this is a great play from Cuz, don't get me wrong, I think the bigger story of what happened here, though, is yes, they committed to get the turret topside, they got the turret and the extra charge in mid, but KT gets sole point with a Yorick that doesn't have any combat ability whatsoever, and now he's going to get side a little bit here for free, and KT got an objective without having to fight, and I think they're super happy with that, because no matter what, they would not have been able to fight for that Dragon had Hanwha Life Esports just not set up for it. They were so late to drop the Herald. Sure, they traded for turrets, but I think for KT, you're like, wow, they really didn't contest that, and now we have soul point. Now we have a bunch of extra time in this game. We have a bunch of extra tools we can play around. So I think KT will be happy. With the gold, no, obviously not, that Hanwha Life picked up, but with the end result, I think yes.
Oh, 100%. And now you've got Cuz lurking here towards the bottom side of the map. BDD set up with a stun, just about prepped.
Zeus knows there's too many people missing.
Yep. Ooh, BDD almost gets out without being seen.
That was a weird silhouette there from Annie. It looked like it was just
it looked
Tibbers.
a lot bigger than you.
Yeah, I was like, he didn't pre-Tibbers, right?
yeah, no, it's still going to be Zeus getting the information, and we'll be all right. 30 seconds until Arakan. That's going to be spawning towards the top side of the map. And we'll see whether there's going to be a setup attempt being made, because still HLE have a gold advantage. It's actually kind of crazy with the fact that this Azir and the Ambessa are so far ahead of their opposition as far as money is concerned. The rest of the map, KT having a slight lead, but it's not quite enough. And it does feel like KT are playing this game as if they have an advantage, but they really just don't. And it's going to get more and more difficult as the game goes on, I feel, with the fact that Peanut is on just a true tank that can start off fights, and Zeka, so much DPS potential on this Azir.
Yeah, I think KT really have to set some traps in this game, frankly. And you know, catches like what we saw onto Viper moments before, those are the kind of plays you need to have to try to stymie you know, the situation, like stem the bleeding a little bit and not just end up losing an insane amount of map control and lose every objective fight. Because he's Jarvan and he has Flash, like if he can hold that and get a steal on this Dragon without having to fight, like that's a big way back into this game for KT. I'm not saying that it's unplayable, and they're only 1,000 gold behind, but it's just the lack of a top laner that is definitely felt here for KT Rolster.
Ooh. Peter in a little bit of trouble, but now it's Cuz actually that is almost just taken out, and in fact the burn will be enough. Viper locks down the kill in the end. And losing your jungler right now, a pivotal moment here with the Arakan available, and HLE, they could get an absolutely massive advantage by taking this down, and they know it. They're going to get on the objective immediately.
Yeah, and for KT, you just have to index into trying to take out these turrets, but the mid turret is so healthy.
Yeah, Public Execution brings AS over the wall there as the Fates Call is going to bring back Peter. Maybe a little bit overly enthusiastic there from the top laner, but still, the Arakan goes down. And that is just stats and experience that KT will not be able to get themselves.
So they end up getting the defense of the top turret here as well. Bottom turret goes down, so 2 turrets here in exchange for Arakan was the plan for KT. They get most of that turret. They end up picking off Zeus, so that's some extra gold they would have gotten had they gotten the turret.
It gives him a bit of extra control though.
Yeah,
right? Because Zeus, I guess he has teleport, so he'll be back on the map in time, but it's 45 seconds until a potential Infernal Soul for KT.
And that lack of, the fact that they were able to save the turret from Zeus' play, which I don't necessarily agree with the play, is significant, like you say, because of the control. Cuz gets taken out here. Nice ultimate there from Viper.
He is going to be very strong.
So this moment here, even though it's not successful at getting the kill, and like it's a really nice Fates Call, plus Tibbers, all that damage comes through, helps them clear out the wave, and so they can keep that turret alive. And that's significant, because like you said, this Dragon is KT's only thing to fight for. They're catching Zeus.
This would be a better kill, as there's the flash forward from Doctom, so many sticks, and down he goes.
Uh-oh.
Right before the Dragon, and I said the last kill could potentially impact the Dragon. It turns out, yes, it could, especially if he dies again as the Flash Tibbers The repel does come on in though. Peter with the Pop Blossom is fantastic. Empress Divide from Zeka, but he's so low. Perfect's going to be able to get on top of the Azir, and Cuz is still fighting. Doctorm is massive. Delight manages to get out. Viper as well, but they're not going to be stopping this Infernal Soul. KT?
I mean,
really?
They might have done it, Atlas. I mean, I still think that Zeus is 1-4 in this game. Went Edge of Night. Interestingly enough, didn't notice that until now, but he keeps getting caught, and he went for the aggressive play in mid. Sure, saved the turret, but he dies right afterwards, coming back in here with no vision in the river. Like, none. Look at where his teammates are. Nobody's nearby, and where do you think KT is? Their whole game plan, like, the only way KT can win this game is if they get the Infernal Soul. Of course they're going to be there, and just one controller. These are the traps I talked about. You set traps, you spring them, and they catch Zeus again. Maybe just not fully locked in, not fully focused, and was just like, all right, I clear the wave, I join my teammates, we go for a collapse. Just didn't really think about the fact that so many members of KT could be lurking in that brush, and he dies, they win the subsequent fight, pick up a ton of gold. They've now evened the gold up essentially here. They have Infernal Soul, which is going to be a ton of extra combat stats for this composition, and KT have just bought themselves another lease on life. I'm not saying they just won the game, but I mean, with the trend that we are seeing with Hanwha Life, just with these shaky side lane plays, maybe it'll be dominoes continuing to fall here. For Hanwha Life fans, I surely hope not, but KT just keep finding these angles. It feels like we might witness a miracle tonight.
We could. I mean, there still has to be another fight win for KT. As you can see, it is completely even as far as gold is concerned. The items are going to be at complete parity, and there is a lot of scaling potential on HLE's side. But Infernal Soul cannot be underestimated. It is a whole lot of extra power. KT going to be very happy about that one. And they've also just accelerated the game a whole lot faster with the Elder Drake coming up in 4.5 minutes. It's going to be a big deal as Viper thinks he may have found a Peter angle. But the Ghoulie Wall going to stop him there. Look at those majestic little cats.
That's, you know, ult down for Viper, but I don't think it's that significant in this case. And the opportunity there was very high, so we appreciate the attempt. Good play from Perfect to deny any sort of follow-up. Yep, Baron is spawning. Hanwha Life have vision around it, but there is that pesky Scuttle Crab, and I think obviously KT Rollstar are going to be rushing over here. The problem is they don't have vision on the entry. Like, this is where they can't see, so to actually get to the Baron is very challenging. They have to come in together here, Cuz.
Oh yeah, Cuz actually flagging and dragging. Does walk out of the way of the Arctic Assault, which is kind of a big deal. Peter and Delight just fighting some supportal combat there, as we can see, as Zeus looking for where he wants to actually start this battle, and Perfect is the only one up towards that northern side. Yeah, the Tangle Barbs are good. On to Peanut.
So broken up. Hanwha Life looking for that pick onto Perfect, but almost bit off more than they could chew. And we kind of reset here as KT are finally hoping to get that mid turret. This route onto Peanut will certainly help.
Yeah, KT with eyes on the prize actually able to get this early rotation over, and the bear comes down. Delight in a lot of trouble, but does go up into the sky to keep himself alive. Perfect there with the shovel, able to take this one down as Cuz is battling against Zeus. Zeus gets into the mix, but is immediately taken down. The culling will be cancelled, and that is not the right Nico. Zeka throws out the Emperor's Divide, but it's very defensive, but maybe it's defensive enough as Viper just going ballistic. Doctorm gonna go down, and there is the KT throwaway. Ladies and gentlemen, HLE, they picked their moment, and this was about the last chance they had.
Viper said, you know what? I will clean up the fight. I will pop off at the end of it. Oh, those low health bars. Viper goes in for the chase. And once again, Viper will clean up HLE's mess. And KT will not be the first team to punish what has been otherwise a very shaky HLE. And the 11th time in a row. I mean, HLE now going up to 12 wins.
All right, there are 2 minions here. There are a lot of minions here. So Peter, he's going to do his very best to try and defend this, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it. As now BDD comes over, he's flashing forward. Okay, half the health bar on the Nexus. Can they keep it alive is the question, as Viper needs another couple of shots, and it's Zeus that has to do it. The Nexus survives. We are in this game for at least a little bit longer as the counter race comes in.
What an insane game this is turning out to be.
Wait a second. The counter win is not going to happen.
Oh, good spot on that ward.
Yeah, that's a good one.
As that would have been exactly where Zeka wants to go. So it all starts out here with BDD dropping Tibbers right. They end up getting the turret. They stick the landing on this one as Baron is being taken in life, and then there's a collapse onto Zeus in this moment. But then Zeus turns around and Viper has an amazing call here. And then things for KT get a little bit wishy-washy. They're not 100% sure how they want to engage. This Emperor's
the
Divide...
Pop Blossom does nothing as well.
The Emperor's Divide from Zeka denies it, and Viper just follows through, and he and Zeka do clean up house. And it's Hanwha getting the full ace. They are unable to end, though. She watch this back again. Respawn's coming through. Play from BDD pushes Viper away, and they get the knock-up onto Peanut. And unfortunately, Ambessa does not quite enough damage and just gets put in the bouncy castle. Down she goes.
CT from KT. Very impressive there in that last moment. I actually thought that a full health Zeus would be enough to get rid of the quarter of a health bar or fifth of a health bar that the Nexus did have, but was just held in place the entire time. So the Baron going to go over to KT. Now they need to wait for their Nexus turrets to respawn, though, and this is like the first time where Nexus turrets respawning is a really, really big deal.
So now Hanwha have teleport for Zeka, so they're keeping this wave pushing in, threatening. They even have the Sun Disc committed to here, threatening KT with the potential backdoor. So KT always have to be focused on this mid wave and take out these super minions, but that gives them prio for Elder. And weirdly enough, like, I mean, I think that Hanwha Esports, if they get Elder, they just kind of walk up with Zeka and hit people, and then the Nexus explodes. But I just don't know if KT can ever win a fight here with the mid prio they don't have. Delight looking to set up a ward into the base. If he actually can get in, this is a great sentinel here by Duckdom. If Delight can drop a ward over the base wall, then Zeka can just TP in and end during the Elder fight. So good tracking there of the Elise. And I mean, he could also end himself if he's given enough time, but
BDD is looking to spot that one out. As you can see here, HLE had started this one up, but BDD has found Delight. He spotted out. It was a cunning ruse, but it's not going to quite work out. There is now Viper looking for Cuz. He just flags and drags and gets himself out. And now Fate's Call going to come on through. Down goes the Nico, but can KT actually find an angle as Peanut goes down? Now the only smite is over the side of KT. The flash forward, down goes Viper. Delight, can you save the game? The Nexus turrets are respawning, and he cannot kill them. Oh no, the itsy bitsy spider. He went up the spout, but he didn't read the patch notes!
Oh no, Delight didn't track those Nexus timers. Down he goes. And look at Zeka on the flank here, but there's no ward in the base. He already TP'd, and he can't get in there either. KT with the team fight win, a near ace, and with the Elder buff in hand, are marching down the bottom lane. They're going to group up here. BDD scouting that flank from Delight, scouting it out, punishing him, then TPing into the fight. And Hanwha, I think they tried to get a little bit too tricky here, and KT Rolster in a great position to try to end this game now. However, Viper up in 3. They can't kill the Nexus, but maybe they can win a fight with Elder.
Yep, I mean, they've got the Elder Drake, right? So they should be in a good position to win a fight, but it's going to have to be an honest 5v5 to light up in 2 seconds' time.
Peter is holding the mid wave. There is a ward in the main base. Zeus' teleport's coming back soon, so
the problem is they need a minion wave, right? Because the Nexus turrets have now respawned, and so KT are more than safe. It's an honest game of League of Legends once again. But there is an Elder on KT for the next little while.
Fails to kill the Elise, but decides not to chase and teleports in here. He's the one who decides to push the Elise back, commits the teleport here. Zeka has to use his ult defensively because there's no great setup here. Like, Hanwha super shaky on this Elder take because they're really trying to use Delight's pressure to pull KT back, but KT just don't flinch, man. BDD holds the line. And it's a great re-engage from Peter in the fight. He's super hyped about it.
Yep.
And BDD gets in with the teleport. Delight cannot end before the Nexus turrets come up, so even though he doesn't die, he can't do anything. And Hanwha on the back foot again. The game still continues. Elder buff only up for 35 more seconds. KT weren't able to actually find a fight or delete the enemy champions. And maybe Hanwha could just stave off the pressure for 30 more seconds here.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a lot of mitigation here from HLE as the mid-inner turret does go down like you were talking about.
Viper's ult.
Yeah, that's just to try and clear out the wave as best they can. HLE is still formidable. And if Zeka can free hit right with these Sand Soldiers, if Viper is able to run amok after some cooldowns are down, the team can still absolutely win.
The Edge of Night tech here for Zeus is pretty interesting because it allows him to engage onto BDD, get his ult out or get his stun out, and then to still actually be relevant right afterwards. He was looking for a flank angle there. It doesn't commit because the rest of his teammates are a little bit cut off. The next wave comes through. So he doesn't commit, but man, this game is giving me serious stress. I mean, this.
Oh yeah. But like, Cuz just bought an opportunity.
Yeah.
He just wants to assassinate people.
And I think that's what he's been doing most of this game, especially the early game.
It feels like a very Cuz item. I don't know whether I necessarily agree with it, but it fits. You know, it fits the theme.
So, GA
Yeah.
for Duckdom.
Look at his scoreline, man. 13-1-3.
He's having like the series of his life right now, at least in current year. We'll still give him that much.
Oh, 100%.
This has been a very back and forth game. The Yorick has just been a non-factor, but KT have shut down Zeus so many times it feels like it's been a 4v4 game with a 2-7 ambassador. Just hasn't quite hit the mark yet here for Hanwha Life Esports.
He still feels so scary though. Even though he is a 2-7 ambassador with only like 2.5 items, feels like Zeus still manages to find ult angles. But still,
look at the
he's in the
flank.
bottom lane right now. And like you were saying, yeah, Jarvan flanks are pretty scary things. He's going to be clearing away Peanut's jungle here over and over again. The Brambleback will go over to HLE, so at least they have a red buff.
Okay, big push here from Zeus.
Do you think KT has enough Baron side control?
I think so.
There's a lot of wards in that area.
Have to win the team fight.
Oh no, Maiden!
Maiden going down.
Oh, there's the culling. That's going to kill the Maiden. So Perfect will not have that. She only just got popped out as well.
They have to find an angle to strike here soon, I think. Yeah, they gave up their control over Baron. I mean, the timer isn't great for them, but they didn't find an angle to get a pick, and now Perfect doesn't have his ultimate.
There's a wave pushing up mid. So KT in a bit of an awkward spot here as the teleport in from the Ambessa.
They're not aware of it either.
Well, Duckdom is just going to start Baron.
Okay, they do see him.
That's an interesting move. So Zeus is spotted. The rest of KT, they are just going to commit to this, I guess. I don't know.
It's a Kalista. The secure is great, but I mean, the fact is, there's a secure on your base, and now you're stuck. Now you're stuck here.
Yep, Glacial Prison just thrown into that brush to cancel backs. BDD should be able to get home here, as we can see, but it is going to cost them the inhibitor no matter what. Now the fight is attempted to be started.
BDD got back without using teleport, so he can teleport back into the fight after he defends this.
Well, Tibbers does go down. Man, the Pyroblast doing a lot of damage there as Zeka has to run away from an angry Tibbers.
Okay, they're going to now use this Kalista to try to rush down this Baron. They have all that extra Rin damage. They have essentially 2 smites here. BDD can TP in straight in the middle of this fight, but he's chasing Zeka now.
Yep, Zeus has a good angle as Viper is hitting mainly the Baron right now. The culling not doing a whole lot of work, as it is going to be the Baron secured by KT. And HLE, they're pausing. They're not quite sure what they want to do in this moment. Fate's Call going to be committed to.
Zeus doesn't commit to anything. He just sits on the flank, doesn't actually commit in, and they were just too far away from the pit, and the heist is successful. BDD doesn't even need to teleport in. They just push Zeka out. They lose their inhibitor, but they have Baron now to try to siege up the base.
This is actually crazy, though. It's one of the first times in one of these clutch moments that HLE have just stalled.
Yeah, and they're so famed for their team fighting. Chronicler mentioned it earlier. They haven't been able to find those fights here. They're the comp that has the team fighting comp. They're not the one with the Yorick. And it's KT running circles around them, I feel, in so many of these big, high-pressure moments.
I don't know.
Does have his ult back up. Elder is respawning.
Maybe the way for Yorick to be a team fighting champion is if he makes the, the Ghoulie Cataclysm Venn diagram. Maybe that's how you do it.
Zeus this time unseen. This time unseen. They don't know where he is. BD wants to check. Blast Cone taken away. He knows he's likely there.
Yeah. He is now over the wall. He can use this Blast Cone, gets in behind the rest of his team.
Is this just checkmate?
Vesser is wrapping around. It's just going to be a 50-50. Peter goes golden, breaks an arm guard there as the Maiden getting amongst it, and it's Cuz that takes down the Elder. Peter will find the Pop Blossom before going down, and Zeus is having to flash out of there. BDD gets over, destroys the Lucian. The Emperor's Divide goes down, but you cannot divide by Dragon. And KT will get the ace, and they are going to win this game.
And Hanwha Life fans not happy. KT rolls to say 50-50 on an Elder. You want to flip it. Duckdom likes those odds. When he's got a rend, they have the smite. Cuz secures it. They had full control on Zeus' flanks. Both of them 2 back-to-back accomplished nothing on this 3-8 Ambessa. Bit of a jungle gap, I think, in this series. Cuz showing up big. They've been calling him the Dragon Slayer, and he slayed the biggest of them all to end
slayed all of them. Actually, every single one. Only the Otacon, but that's not a dragon. That does not count. And KT join Gen G as one of the only teams to defeat HLE this season. Absolutely absurd.
Huge cheers from the KT roster side as what seemed impossible is completed here after a rough game 1. They bounced back with a KT classic, their style draft in game 2, and then game 3 just outplayed. Cuz brings out the Jarvan and just shuts Peanut down at every turn. Zeus having one of his worst series, I feel, since LCK Cup when he first joined Hanwha Life Esports. But KT focused him. They were able to punish him so many times. And KT, if this is what we could see from this team every match day, every week, We might be able to make a case for a legend group.
Oh, perfect. Never change, my friend. That was absolutely fantastic. After, I don't think he had a great time in the laning phase any one of these games, but who won? It was these guys, and it was largely off the back of Cuz, phenomenal performance on the Jarvan and the Nidalee, but it's always BDD, guys. It's just, it always just feels like it's BDD. It's crazy. I think like Doctom also gets a massive mention here though. Look at that big grin on his face. 16-1 in the end of this game on the late game Kalista. Peter as well having a great game. I don't know, like, who are we gonna give it to? As he's blasting off again, man.
I had to give it to Cuz. I thought about it a lot, but man, he ran the early game. His Nidalee was phenomenal in game 2.
There's an argument for everyone except for Perfect, I think.
Yeah, BDD saves the backdoor, stops to light, is able to then get into the team fight. He had an amazing Corki game in game 2. Peter had great engages. Honestly, had a frankly great game across all three. A great series across all three. Doctom, one of his best performances this year. And
100%.
I mean, it's just everything came together here for KT while Hanwha Life Esports kind of continued to flounder.
Hell yeah, Peter.
That's right.
So excited, he's just like knocking headsets over.
But he doesn't just leave it, he puts it back because he's a good person.
Yes, he does, of course.
He's my superhero.
He might have been my POM as well, because his Braum, absolutely phenomenal, and his Nico finds angles, right? So many of these team fights, if the Pop Blossom didn't work, they'd lose.
Yeah. I also just really want to give KT credit for a roster that's still relatively young, right? You have Perfect in this team. You have Peter, who hasn't, he hasn't won any big titles. And they make all the right calls. It means the shot calling from Cuz and BDD. And
they out-decision made the best decision-making team in the late game that we have in the LCK. And I think that that's a statement that you can make because of how well they've done in these game 5s over and over again.
Even shot calling moments like this, but the call to stop the back door, how they played it, the constant tracking of Zeus was on some somewhat predictable but still good flank angles. Moments like this, where they're able to suss it out and outplay, these are the kind of decisions you don't expect from a team like this that's changed its roster so many times, right? And if the meta is shifting towards a Cuz meta, a Dragon meta, and KT are playing like this against Hanwha Life Esports, who knows how high the ceiling can go. Yeah, I am very impressed.
So am I. Even the countdowns there, as we could see, as they all synchronize in their celebration moment as well. Triple kill comes out from Doctom, and I think he's the only one that was just like, no, guys, we haven't beaten the Nexus yet. We haven't killed the Nexus yet. It just shows that he's becoming a true KT player.
I think the warning signs have been there for Hanwha Life. I didn't think KT was going to be the one to outplay him, and it wasn't even Hanwha Life having a horrible day altogether, but certainly the cracks showed, and KT broke through them, busted down the wall. And I cannot wait.
Man. He can't control himself at all.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see what else KT has in store for us this week.
Yep. Big sigh of relief there from Perfect. As we know, the celebration came a little bit later as the reality sunk in. But man, what an incredible victory there for KT. And
I mean, when you have your Nexus turrets down, your Nexus is at like sub 20% health. You just don't think you're winning that game in any scenario unless you make every perfect decision. I think that's part of the elation for Peter. He's probably been in that situation so many times in Challengers where it's like, we barely defended its Challengers, but not quite going to be able to have it. Peter's had so few games in his career. Like, he's beaten T1 a few times, but where it's like a 11-1 team that I just outplayed, that I crushed. So I'm happy to see him elated, and I'm happy that Cuz gets, in my opinion, the deserved POM.
Oh, 100%. I mean, 5-3-20 on that job, and took full control of the early game, never let up. His Nidalee was incredible for multiple reasons. It goes back to the draft, right? The denial, the fact that you then get to pick Sion in your draft because you've picked away the counter pick that Zeus would immediately go to, and then has a breakout performance on it as well. Just incredible stuff here from Cuz, and we're going to be hearing from him very, very soon. And I want to go back, very far back in time, to the very beginning of this series, where we spoke about the fact that things have to be in balance for KT. Well, 3 losses in a row, Wolf, and now 3 victories in a row. And we don't necessarily know what's going to happen next, but I guess in theory it should be a loss. But you don't really know which part of the symmetry and the synergy that we're really looking for here at this point in time. So it's anyone's guess when it comes to KT. It's going to be very, very soon, though, and we will go over to Cuz to see whether or not there's a plan, of course, for what's going to happen next. So I had Jisun in my ear saying something.
I think it's good to go.
I think let's do it then. Let's just get in there. And it's going to be Jisun with the translation.
보도록 하겠습니다. 승리 축하드립니다.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Jisun for the POM interview translation, joined by Cuz on the side of KT Roaster after beating Hana Life Esports that is currently on the second place. Well, I was really sad and unhappy when we lost to Hana Life in the first round, and we finally got the revenge, so it feels amazing. I'm very happy. Hana Life Esports prior to this match was on an 11-match winning streak. How are you able to stop their momentum? They are indeed a very strong team, but we wanted to focus on our own play. As long as we can pull off our game, I thought there will be a chance. Because your game to Nidalee was just perfect, you know. We saw you hovering the champion a little bit in the game number 1 as well, you know. Seems like you were kind of thinking about playing that, but you looked a little unsure, but you managed to pull off a great performance in game 2 in the end. What was going through your mind? So Zeus is really good with Nidalee top, so I felt like we have to kind of deny that away from him. So we wanted to take that away and, you know, play a jungle Nidalee game. How do you rate your own Nidalee performance? I mean, everyone says this is a must-win card against you. Nidalee is a really good champion because she can have a stronger vision control. Also, she's very long range, so teamfight is also really good. So I thought Nidalee would be the right pick to support my team. And then game 3, R5J4 came to bring the team to the victory. Why J4? Honestly, I played 1,000 J4 games when I was in middle school. I was, you know, J4 master back in the days. So I wanted to play with priority with that champion. And I believe this was the perfect choice for sure. In game 3, we have a, you know, phenomenal backdoor defense, and then you guys managed to turn the entire game around. So let's take a look at the replay one more time. So in the end, KT Roaster was able to rush towards the enemy Nexus. What was going through your mind? We almost lost our Nexus prior to this, but you know, we didn't let our mentality go fumble, and then somehow we ended up on the enemy side of the Nexus. So I was not able to believe what is actually happening, but it was amazing. So what was the team call like? We were just super excited, you know. We were just having so much fun and saying, you know, great game, guys, to each other. We were just so happy. Now, 25.09 patch. A lot of people say this is Cuz jungle meta. Do you agree? I mean, I have been hearing that comment so many times, so I guess that's kind of true. For sure, you know, there's a way less chances of having a lane swap, so I can exert more pressure and influence around the map. Cuz, why do you think KT Roaster is becoming stronger and stronger? First off, our coaching staff doing so much work for the team. And also BDD always, you know, hard lifting for everyone, and all the rest of the players are also doing their best. And KT Roaster, your next opponent will be OK Savings Bank Bro. What is your mindset for that upcoming match and for the winning streak? We lost to them in the first round as well. I think Kroko is a very strong jungle, so we will not let our guards down. And this will be the end of the interview with Cuz on KT Roaster. Back to the space. Thank you.